It's after hours. The late night show has started. We've had con going on all day long. It's been great. There's been, I think now this is the fourth part, and we are going to ramp it up. Jason, my man, is here to take it home. What's going on, man?
Dude, not much. Waiting for people to pile in. We got Chris Barrett in the chat, as always. He's always here. He's always first. I don't know how he does it. He's been here all day, like myself. We've been moderating and babysitting the chat all day. Yeah, it's been good. It's been a good time.
I'm glad you got your nap in as well.
No, I didn't. I got stuck in messages, but it's okay. Yeah.
Now we got a packed lineup. We got 5 writers and artists coming tonight. We're gonna pack them in. We're gonna work through some really talented people. We're gonna give you the links to find the products that they're creating. So this first half-hour block, we got Frank Gogol and we got Christy Shin. We're gonna give you 15 minutes with each of them to hear about the work that they're doing and where you can find their work. We flip things around. So Christy's backstage. We're actually going Frank first, Christy, and we're going you second, if that's okay. So we're going to jump in. This is Frank Gogol, everybody.
How's it going?
What's up, Frank?
I'm Christy Shin.
Yeah.
I write Demon Bitch. And
yeah, you're hilarious, too.
Yes, I am.
So how's quarantine life going for you, man?
Fucking sucks.
I know. It does.
Terrible. But you guys are doing this, and that brightened my day up a little bit. So that's a huge plus. I miss conventions a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're usually on panels and talking to the people. How's it feel to kind of switch it up to like a monitor digital face-to-face kind of thing instead?
It's not that out of my wheelhouse. I do a lot of YouTube stuff, especially this year. I've been trying to do more than I did last year. So like I'm used to the live streaming stuff now, but it's definitely a different experience having so many people in the chat and it not just being me. The last panel I was on, we had David Boer from Kanto and
love David Boer. Yeah, all those guys. It's funny because Ryland Grant, I feel like it's just like he has the whole crew. He's kind of like the gang leader. He has everyone.
It's true. It's true. I'm in a rival gang though. He and I have a blood feud. We have a blood feud. I just come on to these things to make sure that he's not getting too big.
Yeah, right. I had the pleasure of talking to you and all those other guys from earlier on the Comic Cast, show on the S&B network, and it's really cool to do this. To see you guys again, and I feel like you guys notoriety, if you will, has just grown exponentially every time I see you guys on something, and it's awesome to see you guys grow.
I think you're right. Like I kind of feel that in my everyday life, and I have this theory about comics that like creators kind of come in almost like high school classes, like freshman, sophomore. So like you think like 15, 20 years ago, you had the Brubaker, Bendis, class. Rucka was in there. I think
you guys are definitely the next generation. We've been preaching to everyone as well the same thought. Yeah,
people keep lumping me in with all these really talented people, and I'm riding these really long comic book foottail.
Yeah, bro, that's awesome. That's well deserved too. So
thanks.
So you want to tell people about what you have? I mean, No Heroine is really going strong right now. Can you tell people about that story and kind of where it came from?
Yeah. Let me get my prop. Oh, I did it right this time. I never know which way to lean. It's flipped. This is the first issue of No Heroine. It was supposed to come out on June 24th, so maybe June 24th, 2021 now. We'll see, but whenever it does, I will be there. But the book is it's sort of got like a two-pronged pitch. There's like the elevator, get you intrigued pitch, and that's what if Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a drug addict or a recovering heroin addict. But the book's really about like a young woman struggling with the recovery phase of addiction. She's not using anymore, but she's sort of learning to build up her own resources and take care of herself, and she's not doing a really good job of it, and she's really relying on other people a little too much, and essentially it's a big metaphor for vampirism. Like it's she's sucking other people dry, pushing that fine line between asking for help and taking advantage, and it kind of throws her into this life of monster hunting. So it's definitely if anyone read Dead End Kids, it's like the anti Dead End Kids. Dead End Kids was like this really manicured, every panel in its place, slow burn, like a very dialogue talky book. This is action and just total badassery. I mean, Kayla is probably my favorite character I've ever written because she just came so naturally. She talks like I do. It's just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
When I heard the pitch, I'd obviously the idea of vampires and addiction is so logical. Like there's that the hunger, even that film, The Hunger, right? That idea that the need that needs to be satisfied is so phenomenal. Was there something that clicked for you when it came to this, as far as the connection between vampires and addiction?
So I didn't sit down to write this book on purpose. Chris Madd, who did the covers for Dead End Kids, is the interior artist on this book. And we actually started this book before Dead End Kids was written by about a month. Just it was a number of things. I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and I always wanted to write my own Buffy eventually, because not everybody gets to write the comic. Only like 10 or 15 people ever will, and I didn't want to count on getting my chance. So I figured I'd do my own version, but do it my way, with a punk rock edge to it.
For sure, yeah.
I'm a little more clean cut than I was when I was younger, but I've got really good taste in music, and it shows in the book. So there's sort of my own background. Also, like my history with people in my life who've struggled with addiction. Both my parents had addiction problems. A lot of the kids I grew up with and my best friends have struggled with addiction for the better part of the last 2 decades. So kind of exploring those things and like what it's like to be on the other side of it, and like just writing what I know, the old cliche.
Well, I feel like addiction is so universal. I feel like there's no way that anybody on this planet is disconnected from this in some way.
Or immune. It can happen to anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of reading No Heroin. You gave us advanced copies for the Comic Cast show, and it was fantastic. It deserves all the accolades and attention that it's getting. And also, man, I got to get my hands on that variant cover, or one of them at least. There's a lot of them popping up now because everyone realizes like how hot it is, and how popular you are too, and how popular Dead End Kids is as well. I feel like it keeps exploding and growing and growing. Everyone wants to be a part of it.
Books that keep giving. Like my first book, Grief. Like I wrote that, I think 4 years ago this month. I wrote the first part of it. So I've only been writing comics for about 4 years, and like it came out and was a Kickstarter, and then like it got picked up for print publishing, and then it got nominated for a Ringo, and then the print run sold out, and it's getting a second printing. Like my goal is to just have books that keep giving more back to me every time. So far, so good. We'll see. I'll hit a ball eventually.
I was going to say, do you have can you let us in on like another book maybe you might be working on? Like what's the next chapter for you?
I'm writing Dead End Kids 2 right now. And I'm pretty excited about that. It's definitely a better book. I don't know if people will like it more. It's hard. Second volumes of things are always tough. Like there's a big expectation going into it.
Yeah.
But we found a way to sort of sideline that by just using a new cast and a new setting and a new.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Interesting. It'll be called Dead End Kids. It'll have a subtitle, and it'll be sort of the True Detective formula.
Nice.
That's not to say that everything's not like connected, but I don't know. You gotta get to the last issue of of the second volume, and you'll find out.
Well, I mean, Jason and I did a show recently, well, not too recently, about Criminals by Brubaker.
Yeah.
And we were discussing how they're separate, but yet also interconnected.
Mm-hmm. That was a huge influence. That and Violent Love by Frank Barberi and Victor Santos, especially for the cover of Dead End Kids. Those were 2 books I was reading a bunch of when I was writing it.
Nice. Yeah, because it made the reading so much more interesting when all of a sudden something would pop up and it would click, and you'd say, for those patient readers that are getting deeper in, those little tendrils of connection.
It's rewarding.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Is it also going to take place in the 90s as well, or are you jumping time periods like Criminal?
This one's set in 2008. So
all right.
I can tell you a little bit about it. I can't tell you too much. So the story is going to follow 3 kids who are the children or relatives of people who died on or because of 9/11.
Wow. Jeez, man. This gets heavier and heavier. God.
If there's a 3rd volume, it's going to be way heavier than that, too.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, so it's these three kids 7 years later, sort of, and you catch up with them and see sort of like the toll it's taken on their lives and sort of like what that they would be sort of my generation. They're a little bit younger than me, but yeah, kind of just exploring like what that trauma looks like while telling a heist story set in suburbia.
Okay. Yeah. I love all the 90s references we got before. I'm really hoping to see some Jinko jeans, in this next one. Some chain wallets.
We'll see. Most of that is Nainad, the artist. So like I put a couple things in the script and then he always adds like 100 more things. And then he adds like little inside jokes like about me in there. And I don't catch
Only
them.
You understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a story in Grief where he drew me into a funeral scene. And like I didn't find out until this year.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah. Did he tell you or did a fan spot it?
No, he told me. And the reason is because it doesn't really look like me, but I believe him.
At least you're not like in the casket or a gravestone.
Which would be funny. Yeah.
Not yet.
That's my dream, is to die in a comic book. Yeah. One day.
He's a funny guy. When I reached out to him about doing the second volume, we got the whole team back for the second volume. And when I reached out to him, I emailed him. I was like, "Hey, we're going to do this. Do you want to be the artist?" And he emailed me back and said, "Oh man, I'm booked up for like 3 years." And then he just let me stew for a while. When I was like halfway through writing like the third draft of the email where I was like being nice about it, and then he gets back to me. He's like, "God, just kidding."
Yeah.
Amazing.
Heart palpitations.
Yeah, I would too.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Is there, obviously No Heroine hasn't come out yet, but I saw on your Instagram that you're giving away the opportunity maybe for people to get to read it in advance. You got some things going on. How can people get some of these great books?
So I try to give my stuff away for free as often as possible. Honestly, like I'm very bad at business. So Grief, I pretty much give away for free to anyone who ever wants it. It's a good book for people who are dealing with bad shit, any kind of grieving situation, and usually around the holidays and during this sort of pandemic crisis we've been having, I've been just offering it to people for free. All I have to do is shoot me a DM or comment on like a Facebook post or something, and I'll send it to them. Anyone can get the first issue of Dead End Kids if they hop on my email list, which is super easy. It's just a sign up, just email and first name, and doing that gets you like access to early variants and stuff like that. Like I try to take care of people. And right now we're doing our yearly push for the Ringo Awards to get Dead End Kids and myself nominated for some stuff. And anyone who votes for me for any of the categories or Dead End Kids for any of the categories and lets me know about it and just shows me a screen grab or something, I'll send them the first issue of No Heroine as a PDF to check out.
Wow. That is some incentive right there,
Yeah, so you could sort of weasel your way to getting the whole book. Very little effort.
Or I would say earn. You earn your way.
Because you get Gogol bucks. Yeah.
So you can find Frank at Frank Gogol on Instagram, Facebook. I'm assuming same way.
I just got a fan page for the first time, but only so that way I could do live streams. So like honestly, anyone who's listening who is interested in like writing their first book or is a fan of Dead End Kids or just wants to engage with like a creator, like just shoot me a Facebook friend request. It's like facebook.com/Frank Gogol. I think I got the OG, like just my name URL. Nice. And like I'll approve just about anyone as long as there's like not like a big old swastika in your profile. The bar is not too high, and I'm pretty good about auditing things and like getting rid of people who aren't.
Well, I know a friend of mine who goes by Just a Rican in his comics. Rod is really looking forward to sitting down and doing a deep dive with you on No Heroine, which he has flipped over as well. And
we were going to talk tonight actually, and then he was like, "No, I can't compete with them."
Yeah, no, he is definitely looking forward to it. And I almost invited him, but I was like, this is too short. I want you to get full Gogol. I want you to get the full block. So nice. He is looking forward to that. So if you guys in the chat are subscribed to Just a Rican in his comics, expect a solid interview with Frank here in the upcoming.
He's been in and out all night donating to the Hero Initiative and Red Cross. We appreciate him a lot. So thank you.
That's a great reminder that all the super chats that you guys are dropping in are going to charity, Red Cross, Hero Initiative. You can go to the mainframecomicon.com website and donate there as well. Frank is donating all of his time here to do this and talk with us. So it's a nice little gift to all these great charities, man.
That's right. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, thanks a lot, brother.
It's awesome seeing you again, man. Yeah, we'll do it again.
Please. This is fun. And it's not like I'm doing anything else.
Right. Well, have a good night.
Take it easy.
All right. You guys better get ready because we got some serious demon bitch action happening right now.
Oh, boy.
Hey, what's up?
What's up,
guys? How's it going? All right.
Chilling.
You know, the problem happened.
You've been wearing that Bane mask for a good while backstage. I feel bad that I didn't get you in first. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, it's an anti-pollution mask, so it's actually going to work pretty well. It's actually pretty comfortable. Like, first it was holding my neck like this, but then when you kind of like wear it for a while, it kind of
break it in.
Put it behind the occipital bone, it's fine. So yeah, but I just decided to wear it because some people, like, I just was bored and I took a picture of my mask like some people do. And then like 10 million guys, like 5 guys hit me and say, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful." I'm like,
you're like used to it, you know, and the usual.
Somebody for everything, right?
Well, it was just weird. It's like, like even other women that I know, like they are wearing their hoodie, they're wearing their mask, they're all wearing baggy clothes, they're going to a gas station.
And guys are like, "You're so hot."
Yeah, and they're like, what?
I apologize for those guys. That's terrible.
I first heard of Christy on the 1-2 Comic Talk channel. You guys have been doing shows together for a good while, you and Kevin, and I horned my way in to talk with David Boer and Drew Zucker with you guys. Christy, you've got a great knack for just talk. You know how to talk to people really well. So it's a huge compliment from me to you that you're really, really good on that program. So if you guys want more of Christy when we're done, definitely check out Kevin's channel and his artist alleys that he does on the weekend. So Christy, let's talk some Demon Bitch. Give me your pitch for Demon Bitch.
Okay, well, with her, she's a low-level demon from the 13th pit of hell, where people throw their dog shit and gum wrappers. And she wants to bring the second coming of Armageddon, but the first one never happened because she is dumb. She never got the memo that the first one never happened, so whatever. Anyway, she's based on all the girls that I hated because they were bitches and kind of. There you go.
I love that part.
That's awesome.
Part of the pitch, I'm always like, yes, exactly.
That's really good.
I mean, they're based on chicks that I knew I found out later on that were drug addicts and they were like lying assholes and everything. So it was like my commentary on like how women treated me. Now I have a lot of really awesome girlfriends and a lot of awesome guy friends. Yeah. But the dialogue that's not really said so much, or at least by other women, is that other women treat each other like shit. And it's not all the time. Like I have a lot of really supportive women friends and those women are great, but we are all like, yeah, some chicks are fucking cunts or something like that.
Did you update it to like modern Karens and Coach bag wearing people?
even worse. Like,
but it seems to be really intense with women because my wife says the same things where it's like women are either her best friends or they're her enemies, right? There's this duality almost.
Yeah, they like kind of do this weird thing. Like, I fucking want to destroy you, but I'll do it in a way with a smile on my face, and I'll pretend to be your friend, but I hurt you.
Aggressive, yeah.
Mean girls.
Yeah, like in the worst way possible. Like with guys, like, okay, guys can be an asshole and all that, but it's like, I know he's an asshole. You know, it's like,
you just avoid him.
With you, whatever, fuck you, you know. But some girls, it's like they just try to like, you tell them your boundaries and then they'll turn around and do something fucked up to you behind your back. And you're just like, you know, so I decided to just like, so Demon Bitch Alcoholics and Anonymous, one of the characters is actually based on you know, in LA, we have this thing called MAWs, even though that's kind of an archaic term, but there's like people that are models and actors. Now, I want to stress that I do know a lot of models and actors. We're friends and all that, and they work hard. Like that would be me saying artists are lazy as shit and we're druggies, right? There are a few, but whatever. But there were some that like did coke a lot, and then they would do a lot of really attention-seeking shit. Like sometimes they do that. Whatever, professionally normal, realistic approach for a change. Thank you, Herrenberg. But yeah, like okay, so one girl like she'd go online and say she had Crohn's disease. First of all, Crohn's is horrible. Any IBS, any, you know, I kind of can relate because I had a pancreatic tumor removed last year. No cancer, but the long and short of it, it sucked. And I have empathy for people, like, because they're not easily, you know, diagnosed. Like endometriosis is not easily diagnosed, right? But unfortunately, there are the people that lie about it. And basically, this chick would go for 30 days drinking Jack Daniels, right? Booze, right? And snorting fuck tons of cocaine. And then understandably end up in the emergency room where she'd say, I have Crohn's disease, as she tweeted it on Instagram.
Yes, there's a lot of like sympathy vampires that do that as well. I've seen this one person who says that they were like tweeting constantly that they were going to give people money and stuff and help them out, but they never did. They just did it for attention and retweets. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like, and again, like, these are not just girls that just annoyed me and they just did one dumb thing. These were girls that would try to talk shit about me and everything, and I'm like,
yeah, well deserved. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so they're in this book now, right?
Oh, they're all. Oh,
yeah, they're all there.
Book. So when I first,
it's like the Pokemon of bitches.
When I moved to LA, I did this book, Personal Monsters, and it was about all the fucking people that I ever had to deal with in LA that were dicks. Like, there are actually a lot of really good people in LA, but when you first, I'm from Northern California, so I moved to Central California for school. Then I moved to LA, and like with LA. Unfortunately, I think with any big city, you're going to have to find like your thing, the people that are your tribe.
Yeah, your tribe. Yeah, exactly.
You have to kind of like, sometimes you have to kind of like go through the shit in order to go to the better. Like, this is a two-faced bitch. Like,
wow.
This person would just turn around. Like, you'd ask her, oh, could you please get me my water bottle over there? And she'd be like, no. And then you're like, and then she'd just be like, and then she'd be sweet as pie like the next minute. It's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Usually that's a sign of a cocaine addict, but anyway. And so there was just assholes and dicks and pricks that I had in there. I had one woman get angry at me and said how I promoted the misogynistic dialogue. I'm like, I have tits.
Well,
I don't understand, I've gone through this, and I actually told her, I'm not nice. It's the comic for a Mean Girls Burn book. Oh, the thing is that here's the thing. My mom and we had a conversation. She said, Christy, here's the thing. People think they can screw with you because you're nice. I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm a nice person. It's just they think you're nice and everything, but they don't know you. And the thing is, that's right. Like, the thing is that, like, a lot of times I let shit go. Like, I just like, you know what? I don't care. Just go away. Or like we talk about it or whatever. But the moment you like aren't going to address your issue with me, you don't talk to me, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But you keep coming at me, I'm like, fuck you. I'm gonna get I'm gonna get my double pens out. I was gonna say double duns, but I didn't want to like go. Which I'm not.
I think, Christy, what I like about your attitude and about the way you present yourself is that art should always come from a place of emotion, and that's directly where your work is coming from. For me, is this pain or this frustration or this humor that comes from challenge in life, right? And I love that concept. Turning your pain and frustration into art is the goal of this whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's sort of weird because like with Demon Bitch, if it's shitty and people hate it, that's the point anyway too. It's hilarious. It's like sometimes I've had people be borderline apologetic because I've done other work like Sepulchre right up here. So this is another story I'm working on. I'm thinking of kind of doing volume 2 a slightly different way, like more of a webtoon type of thing, and then putting it together in a book. This is like one of my first stories that I read, and it's about a woman whose husband tries to kill her to marry another woman, but he ends up like screwing up because he's not a killer, and she ends up losing her voice, but she's going to go kill him. So it's a story I've been working on in the background, but then kind of Demon Bitch took all my attention because she's a fucking whore. But but I mean, I'm just like thinking of a reformat of that book, not the first book, but like the subsequent storyline, because it's a good storyline. But with stuff like Demon Bitch, the thing is that I've noticed it's almost religious. Now people can go like, what do you mean it's religious? You're talking about bitches and hoes and shit like that and demons. I said, look, here's the thing. They always say in the Bible, you got to forgive, right? Well, if you've genuinely had, and again, I'm not here to preach. It just makes me think of things on many different levels, but there's things like what enables you to forgive. Demon Bitch took everything artist. So the thing is that it's kind of a confessional to people. Like, this is what I mean. Like people like, and I understand, like if somebody's abused you for years, or was horrible to you or toxic, it's hard to let that go because they damage you so much.
Yeah.
But I think what it enables people to do is just say, God, I hate that fucking cunt. It just makes you just realize, because the thing is that what I never liked was that you always deny how you felt.
Right.
And I've noticed the more hateful people are, the more they were told you have to be a good person to just let it go. But it's like, you can't just like let it go like a piece of luggage. You really can't, because
or inversely, they're told to, like, you're just supposed to hold on.
Yeah,
like,
right.
oh, you'll have to deal with it. You already lost whatever. And it's like, no. Like, you have every right to hate the person.
Right.
You have every right to feel that way. But it's like you admit it to yourself. And I've noticed it's almost like a confessional. After they admit it, they just can let it go and forgive that person.
Yeah, and I think a huge step is trying to find out that you do have a problem, because some people will deny it, that, or anything, just
well,
keep
I don't
pushing
want
it back to.
If I could hate, it would be this person's like bullshit. At some point, you'll be pushed to hate somebody. I mean,
Sure.
and this is me going through that for years, and I realized that wasn't good for me. And it doesn't mean that you should. The people that act more hateful are usually the ones that ram it down so much that it just vomits onto other people. And I never was not like that. Like, if I just don't like a person, I just don't like a person. Now, if I truly hated a person, as I said, it's like this. If I really don't like a person, I have nothing to do with them. Like, just whatever, I don't care.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I'm done. But if it's like they keep coming at me and shit, it's like, all right, well,
Then
I'm
you're gonna attack. Yeah.
leave me alone. I've walked away. I've told you to stay away. All this other shit, leave me alone. So the newest one, I just did a Kickstarter, and I'm actually looking to do another Kickstarter because, like, fuck it, I don't know like what else I'm going to do, and I'm already sending out the rewards for this one.
Nice.
So I just got about 20 more people left, I think. So that's actually not that bad. So this one is like Water for Chocolate, by Laura Esquivel, right? Everybody familiar with that book?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, Laura Esquivel, except this is shit. So what it is that my friend, so I drew these comics that are fucked up and horrible, like this, Demon.
Sorry, let me make that big again. Sorry, there you go.
And then my friend Tony did one where it's like the Demon Bitch cocktail. He just like,
oh wow,
the last Kickstarter, not this one, but the one prior to funding this, called She Sucks, right here. So the thing is that, so he just like would read it. And he just started writing these, like, he's an amateur mixologist. He's a welder by trade, but he just loves drinks. Like, if you ever go to his house, he's got top shelf booze everywhere. And he's not a raging alcoholic because he still has a lot of it, but it's just nice stuff. But
what's his name again? Sorry.
Tony Tilton. I credited him in the book, but he did this one where he said, "Oh yeah, this is the Demon Bitch cocktail." Yeah.
Do we have an ingredient list in there?
Oh,
Do we know what's in it? How to make it?
Yeah, like there's like literally like, and the thing is that he said that it basically smells pungent and it looks like a cup of semen. And it's actually like, if you can tell like what it says here, he actually has decent booze like Lafroig Lore, King's Ginger, things like that. And you would think he'd do the lazy thing, like dump a bunch of shit together and make it look bad. But he actually took the time to make it look certain ways. Like there's this one called the Egg Lady Wedding Cake Cocktail. And this one. And it just looks like a sad fucking wedding cake that your groom left you on the altar with. It's in the fucking, like, have you ever been to a birthday party as a kid and nobody finished their cake, or not everybody finished their cake, so your mom would put it in the fucking sink? And it would kind of dissolve after, like, that's what it looked. And every time this drink like progressed like more and more, it would look sadder and sadder and sadder. And it was just this gross shade of blue, because I just found this picture on the ugly food of Instagram, and it just like was this nasty cake that looked like one of my friends says, I think that's a tres leches cake, but it looked like somebody poured Sprite all over it or something. really, really bad.
Well, I've been dropping the link to your Horatora Studios in the chat for people. Is that the best way for them if they want to find your books and they want to get and order things for you or jump to your Kickstarters? Is that the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. It's totally fine. Yeah, what it is that also I updated my store through Square. So it's also linked to my website, so that you can still go through it. But this is where you can actually get my gallery pieces, like originals, or really high end things that I've done or something with things. So I'll put that in here so you could copy paste it. But this is my new Square store that I put up. Oh, and I did pins for this too. So I actually have enamel pins, but these are two of the newest ones. This is Demon Bitch Sperm and Demon Bitch Stabbed.
Oh my.
So yeah, like that was from the last Kickstarter. So I've got those on sale too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to plug or mention before we wrap up? I mean, obviously, if you want more Christy Shin, you got to check 1-2 Comic Talk, Kevin's channel, because you will see her every week over there. Is there any other places or things you want to mention?
Well, actually, I do lunch hour. That's Monday through Friday, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I sit around, I bullshit, and I draw. Like, I know awesome. Everybody, like, you all have your backgrounds all nicely arranged. This is just my shit back here. This is just what a working artist does. And I did debate, like, oh God, do I look like a slob? Is this like too distracting?
Do I look like a hoarder?
Yeah. I'm just kind of like,
I go through that all the time. Yeah.
There, like, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like, this is what a working artist does. Like, I'm not saying that every artist is like me, but I just kind of put my stuff out there and I draw and I just chat with people. And we talk about it. Sometimes I'll draw what they ask, but most of the time I'm just working on stuff. Like right now, for the next Kickstarter, I'm working on a Lenormand deck called Demon Bitch, the Shitty Tarot. And it's not really a tarot deck. It's just shitty. And it's just a fortune-telling deck. And that'll be the next Kickstarter because they canceled San Diego Comic Con. So I'm just like, well, fuck it. I'll just go make it.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Christy. We really appreciate you coming by and have a great night, okay?
You too. You have a great night, too. Bye, guys.
Bye.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah.
You can find Christy's links in the chat, but I'm going to bring on actually, I'm going to drop Jason out so that I'm going to put Jason in the corner. Got to put Jason in the corner.
All right.
I'm going to bring on, this is John Suntress from Word Bubble Podcast. John,
not Word Bubble. Never Word Bubble. No.
Sorry, Word Balloon.
Word Balloon. How you doing?
2 nights in a row. Thank you for joining us again, John.
Oh, thank you for having me. That's very kind.
And you brought a very special guest for us tonight. We have Batman.
Hey, it's important to wear masks.
I don't think that's what they meant, but okay.
I'm going for it. I'm making it work. This is my foreign times haircut. I'm wearing a mask. I'm keeping it safe. Like Howard Hughes, my hands are just in 2 Ziploc bags full of Purell.
You look like
by pea jars.
You look like Keaton at the end of the second Batman movie he did, where he and Selena rip off the masks and they're all their stuff's crazy. And stuff.
He goes from having what is clearly black grease paint over his eyes to suddenly no grease paint.
Yeah,
it's like Affleck, exactly.
I'm starting to really question the reality of those movies.
Yeah. You're like Michael Eric Dyson watching the space movie with. God, I'm not thinking of anybody's name right now. What's her? Sandra Bullock, with Clooney. He was tweeting from the theater as he's watching. This is inaccurate. This is inaccurate.
Right.
Intolerable cruelty. No, it's not the right one. I'm forgetting the right one.
I can't remember what it's called either. Shame on us.
Gravity. It's called
Gravity. Of course. Not Batman. Matt Fraction. Thank you for joining us, Matt.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
So awesome to have you here. I'm obviously a fan of the Hawkeye and Sex Criminals, and I was even chatting with Chip Zdarsky about a week ago, and he was telling me very hilarious stories about Sex Criminals and the journey of that comic and everything. But thank you for taking a little bit of time to join us and support Hero Initiative and the Red Cross and all the great work and money that people have been donating this weekend.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm going to, if you're in the chat and you will have a question for Matt, please throw it in. We would love to hear from you. I'm going to kick it off, though, with my question because I'm in the driver's seat. I love stories that mix comedy and drama, and you seem to do that really, really well. Is there just some part of you that just naturally does this, or is this something you work to incorporate in your stories? How does comedy and drama play out for you?
Boy, I think funny is hard. Funny is real hard. Drama is a different kind of difficult. Like if you can, I think if I can permit myself to be embarrassed and honest, if you can write it from an emotionally honest place and an experientially honest place, and Like that's the hardest. Like if you can find that, that's the hardest part for me about drama. But like I feel like I look like a dumbass all the time. So like I can steer into that. Okay, like a comedy is hard. Like comics funny is easy. It's also not funny. But like actual funny is a lot of work and a lot of it takes a lot of time to write those dick jokes. I think because comedy and comics both are so reliant on timing and pacing and phrasing and things like that. Like there's a lot of one-to-one and I don't know. It's also I think easier to like one kind of you can deflect one with the other. If you're getting too honest, you can make a joke and let some of the tension out.
Right.
If you're just making dick jokes, you can say something true and real because you've kind of lowered your guard and expectations. And maybe I can just slip this thing by. Like I think there's a balance between the two, a back and forth.
That's what I always gravitate towards is that feeling of life. When you're having the hardest day, something's going to play that other note, right? The real life has those layers, and that's what I always enjoy about your work.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm surrounded by people who make me laugh all the time, even in the worst days, the worst times, the worst moments. That's especially when it's especially clutch, right? But laughter happens frequently, as often as sad things, and. Yeah. Usually, especially when there are sad things. So,
totally,
it's a sweet and sour mix. I like to wrestle with, I guess.
Yeah. There's a lot of pizza dog chat going on here.
There's a lot of pizza dog chat.
Pizza dog is.
Oh, I'm in private chat. There's live comments. There we go. I just went tick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Christy.
Excellent. Yeah, good point. It's true. Yes, I hadn't considered that.
Did you think Pizza Dog would be as big of a hit as he was?
No. Of course not. It was a dog solving a crime. No, I didn't even. No.
Yeah, like Wishbone. I'm in.
Didn't have a sense, and two, like, no. Especially when we were like, okay, and now we're gonna also color it the way dogs see color, and oh yeah, the only words. No. I thought it was. It was germane to the. It was also Tito to the story of. That we were doing, and so like I knew I had like the I knew Hawkeye could support that story in that moment told that way, but I had no clue it was going to no, God no, Christ no.
Well, I mean,
it's completely. I kind of think everything I ever write is going to never be seen anyway. So, like, anyone actually reads my shit is weird to me.
Well, I was going to say, my friend Whitewell Comics and I did an hour-long episode of our show just talking about that one issue because we just really enjoy the simplicity, but the complexity of what you guys did in that issue.
The dog is kind of like the guardian angel of that comic. Like I had. Like this, the second issue was the issue that I'd written first, and I turned it in. And my thought about it, as I sent it to my editor, was, "I think this is the second issue." And his response was, "Yeah, your first issue is a real good second issue." And was trying to make the first issue work and had trouble. And then my dog died very suddenly, and I wrote it in a day. I wrote it in a kind of like just everything about keeping that dog alive became what the book was in some. Kind of I don't know, metaphysical, metaphorical, kind of mythopoetic way. Everything about the book was saving the dog, and so when it became time for the dog to be Hawkeye, like it felt like it was just what we were doing from Jump Street.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, someone the other night brought up Punisher War Journal and how much fun that run was. And I love it for a couple of reasons. And one is, like yourself, you were kind of godfathered into Marvel by Ed Brubaker.
Yeah. Ed Brubaker and Mark Miller's inflared colon or whatever Crohn's disease does. Because that was between the two. Yeah.
I didn't realize that, but that's awesome. And,
Well,
and then, of
Mark
course,
got sick during Civil War, remember?
right.
And rather than publish Civil War without him, Marvel had to invent a quarter of publishing. And Punisher, I wrote, that was written issue 1, issue 4, issue 5, issue 3, issue 2. And I think I may have written 6 before I wrote 2.
Crazy.
So many moving pieces and shifting because of Mark's health and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, so that the funeral issue was like this. I think it was like literally the 3rd comic I'd written for Marvel, 3rd or 4th.
And the brilliance of making Punisher kind of a crazy Captain America and that great costume that he was wearing. And
that was a gift from Mark. That was Mark's idea, man. That was
that's amazing.
That was a thing from that was what gave the hey, we should do that. He's gonna become Captain America. I'm like, great, okay, sure. that tracked for me. Cool.
And then also Godfathering in Remender, and you guys were working on War Journal together.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was watching Word Balloon because I love John so much, and he was new on my radar, and you guys were talking, and I always was familiar with your work, but I never knew the type of person behind the name, and I never I just realized that you're very humble. But I think you're very brilliant, and you guys had one of the best discussions I've heard in a long time. You guys just touched on so many topics, so many deep dives, and I felt just like enlightened just being in the chat. Much less here. I'm glad both of you are here. It's very nice. Thank you guys so much. Especially it's for charity as well. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Jason. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I mean, that's why we're here, is because you invited us, man.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I saw this question from Deanie Dude. He says he loved the Iron Fist run with Ed Brubaker. It got him into the character. Can you talk about your experience on that series and some of your favorite parts of working on that?
Yeah, Ed wanted to do Iron Fist and had just killed Captain America, and it became the biggest thing in the world. And then he was like, all right, now I want to do Iron Fist. And Marvel said, no. He goes, what if I co-write it? And Marvel said, okay. Ed picked up the phone and called Robert Kirkman, who said no. And then he picked up the phone and called me, and I said, yes. And that became, I was then writing a book and a half for Marvel in like the same 2 weeks it happened. It was like 6 years of nothing happening, and then all of a sudden that. And it came, there's an old, I used to know the issue number. I'm far enough away now that I don't anymore, but there was an old Iron Fist story where when Danny Rand was a kid, he saw the costume somewhere in Kunlun and was like, what's that? And like, oh, never mind about that. We'll do it. So the idea of it being a legacy character was kind of what Ed brought to it. And that was kind of the take, was who were the other Iron Fists and why, and kind of, everyone considered Ed at the time a guy who had gone from indie comics to Marvel, and sort of that made sense for him to be my Sherpa on the ride. And it was cool. We would just get on Xbox and like talk about kung fu movies that we loved and kind of sketch the story out over our headsets, and then
wow, that rules.
Have at it,
That Xbox room, was like really key for a lot of online chats between Marvel creators. I know that from talking to all you guys.
Wow, that's awesome. How about that?
It was fun.
We were talking to Rucka last night, and of course, he's collaborated with Brubaker as well. I just love all your guys' fun triangle friend dynamic, and throw Bendis in there as well. And John, you have this great crew that are just they're best friends. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool to. There's a lot of comic people in Portland. It's nice to have like so many peers, not just kind of coworkers, but like people that you look up to. Like there's a really incredible talent pool here. Yeah. It's never less than inspirational.
Wow.
How does working with more than one writer on a story? I mean, obviously, if you're Xbox communicating with each other, there's a whole dynamic that emerges. But how does team writing on a comic function for you?
I mean, it depends, and it kind of changed over the course of Iron Fist, and by the end, I was such a good mimic of Ed that like no one could tell, But it all depends. Sometimes it's, all right, I'm going to write about the shirts, you write about the pants, or we'll but we would kind of sketch an outline together and have the outline of the thing and know where we were going and not necessarily know how we were going to get there, but and then it would kind of start as an outline, and the outline would become a more detailed outline, and then it kind of became script, and there was, a lot of back and forth. And it changed. Some all of the flashback issues were me. It was just Ed being like, "All right, Matt, go do your thing." And then everything else was kind of. It got to a point where sometimes it'd be like, "All right, I'm going to do 12, you do 13," or I'll do these scenes and you do that. Like when we got John Severin to do flashbacks, Ed was like, "I'm writing the John Severin flashbacks," So it was it kind of changed. And then, and I remember with Rick and I kind of being a similar thing where we kind of outlined it together and then divvied up who was going to do what. And then I would kind of make I would overwrite Rick's dialogue. So it just because our dialogue sounded different, and it was like, all right, well, that is the biggest liberty I'm going to take is make it sound like me. But even then tried to be as light a touch as possible. I think it changes per project.
When you guys were doing, I'm sorry, real fast. When you're doing the Punisher War Journal, one of my favorite stories was matching the Punisher and the Rhino, and kind of in the, leading towards what you did with Pizza Dog and everything. Eventually, it was great how Rhino would write these great kind of flowers for Algernon kind of notes to whomever. In Rhino speak, and I thought that was great.
Yeah. I at one point I had pitched a Thelma and Louise. It would have been Vulture and Rhino on a road trip.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But the thing Vulture would have been dying and he was going to see his daughter. But we would have gotten that for a while. But it was like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but with
right.
It's weird knowing into that. Right? It sounds like dynamite. It just sounds like sales dynamite when you hear it.
Awesome. That's awesome.
The rental car is always kind of sagging over to the Rhino side.
Right? Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Traveling on two wheels down the road. Yeah.
The alignment on this thing is terrible, man.
How's the process of going through Fear itself? I'm sure that's a lot of different hats and things you got to do.
Yeah, I think it was bad. It was because it started with Tom Brevoort realizing, oh wait, we have a Thor movie and a Captain America movie coming out in the summer. Maybe there should be a Thor Captain America miniseries. Ed was writing Cap, I was writing Thor. It made sense. And once the minute Ed realized, oh, this is turning into a crossover, he was like, I'm done. I'm just going to focus on my shit. Good luck. Matt, kill it. I'm like, okay, buddy. Where you going? And Ed just immediately was like, this is turning into a crossover. I'm done. And it was, I read a bunch of the big event books from Marvel and DC and took the stuff that I liked the most. I tried to leave as having been kind of hamstrung by them in the past. I tried to make it absolutely optional. I tried to leave as much red meat on the table for everyone to do whatever I left a lot of things out so someone else could pick it up somewhere, but would make a note hey, this is the thing I'm not resolving, right? Obviously this is going to be a fight. Someone else write it, how does this happen? Where does that happen? Because you're kind of not just writing the thing, but you're orchestrating everyone's response to the thing or helping orchestrate it, helping find, and it was just it was rough.
It's burdensome kind of. It's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of planning.
Yeah. And after a while, there's so many masters you're trying to serve that just getting the original idea gets sketchy. I think there are moments where it still works, and it was incredibly validating. I didn't know that all the stuff from it was going to be an end game. So when I saw Endgame, it felt like oh, hey, it must not have been that terrible because like it must not read like it felt like making, right? It was certainly a learning experience. I've learned I don't want to do it again. But like I had all of Iron Man tied into Fear itself, but none of Thor did. Right. So like even that, I gave myself that choice where like, oh no, the Thor book isn't going to do it. And that was, probably one of the many reasons that, I'm not still writing Thor, but like I was also the guy that, I had Wolverine in like one issue of X-Men. I was like, all right, I'm done with Wolverine. I had him fixing a car, listening to Joe Walsh, and I was like, that's all I got to say about Wolverine. Better X-Men reader than I am a writer. It was just a real experience, is what it was. And hey, some astonishingly gorgeous work with Stuart Immonen. That was a time.
Absolutely.
So that was a pleasure. And and then just to kind of see some of that parroted back in Endgame was like, oh shit, okay, right, maybe I did land a little bit more than I thought I did.
Absolutely, yeah. Once again, always so humble. You know what I mean? I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
Oh boy, you're very kind. Thank you.
Hey, one run that, if I may, one run that I really loved, and I love the idea of matching heroes and villains that you don't normally think of as they'd work well together. But during the Iron Man run, having Norman Osborn, it reminded me, and I just talked to Alan Burnett about this, the way they brought Batman and Luthor together recently in their digital comic and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, if you talk about putting those two together.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a gift of what Brian was doing with Dark Avengers and all of that. And it just sort of was a perfect, oh, of course these guys would hate each other. And then I kind of got to do it again when Dr. Octopus like showed up. Yeah. And that was, again, one of those relationships that, like, when you think about it, it totally makes sense. Like, oh, two just big science jerks. Why hasn't Dr. Octopus fought Mr. Fantastic more? That would be another thing, right?
Yeah.
It just like felt, you get them in a room together and like, oh, this is great. This is perfect. And, there's always power when in a relationship. It's a powerful relationship when the good guy can look at the bad guy and see themselves. Like, I know what it's going to take for me to turn into you. And maybe you look at, maybe the opposite's true, or maybe you see what you used to be like, whatever that. It was, and just to write Osborn like that was just so much fun. Just that way that you really think billionaire dicks talk about you when they're alone at Davos or whatever. It was a lot of fun.
In the chat, my friend Gore Vidal, he said the 70s produced films like Shampoo, Manhattan.
Your friend Gore Vidal is dead. You can't film
it. Last Tango in Paris, Apocalypse Now. Would you consider working again with Shaken on a film history of the 70s?
Ooh.
No, but only because, like, no, I would no, because I'd certainly work with Shaken again, but I think unless you're actually telling stories about Apocalypse Now and Last Tango in Paris and Chinatown, like it loses some kind of analog. I think the stuff with like Satellite Sam worked the way it did because we're all of us removed from memories of things like Space Patrol. Like it's not a thing, and it's not a thing in popular memory the way. Sam Watson's Chinatown book, The Long Goodbye, just came out, is amazing. And it's like, oh, Chinatown is still very much in like the popular consciousness, I saw Apocalypse Now Redux the last time I was in Los Angeles, right? Like,
there you go, Chinatown.
It's pretty good. Have you read that book yet, by the way? Have you read?
I haven't. No, I got something to add to my quarantine reading now. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what Matt does. By the time we're done with this conversation, there will be like dozens of film and book reviews. And that's what we were doing when we were talking the other night.
Yes.
It is what I said with John the other night. It is a book about Chinatown, and Roman Polanski is only the second worst person in it. That's just really
Yeah, I want to highly encourage everyone to go to Word Balloon Podcast and watch the part 1 of this conversation. It is just brilliant. It is amazing. There's so many deep dives, like I said before. John, you were talking about some projects you always wanted to do or working on. Just more like creative things. You want to talk about any of those at all?
Oh, sure, Jason. Yeah, I'm teaching right now at Columbia College in Chicago, online, of course, like everybody. But I've only got 3 weeks left of the class. And one thing I wanted to do before that teaching opportunity came up is I'm a big fan of Katrina Longworth's narrative podcast about old Hollywood. It's called You Must Remember This.
Ooh.
And the idea of storytelling in a narrative way and adding some, appropriate sound effects and music and stuff. Mm-hmm. I covered boxing for 16 years.
Yeah.
On radio, on television, and in magazines. And the period after Joe Louis retired into the champion before Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, the whole sport was ridiculously mobbed up. I mean, there was always a mob influence, but those 15 years, incredibly mobbed up. And there's a lot of incredible stories, and it really is The Sopranos meets Rocky meets Quiz Show, because there were a lot of fixed fights that were on television and the way that the game shows were fixed as well. So yeah, man, I kind of want to do, I've got great sources from newspapers and the like and stuff, and I would love to do kind of a reportage of those years and all the divisions and all the crazy stories that happened. So yeah,
that is great. I have some mafia stories here in Pittsburgh because my father-in-law used to be a newspaper boy down the South Side, and South Side is just bars here in Pittsburgh. And one of them is I'm not going to say the bar. I almost did, but he delivered newspapers, and he have to be escorted upstairs to the back room, and he'd thank the guy, and he'd give him a stack of money as for the paper boy, and you never mess with the paper boy because you always have protection from the mafia, which was kind of nice.
That's cool.
And then also I also work in the music business for different record labels in the past, but my past one was a garage rock and psychedelic label, and the main distributor has huge ties to the mafia back in the day.
Sure.
and you wonder if those ties are still there, and things like that. That's an interesting subject.
Absolutely, man. No, you're right.
Apples never fall too far from the tree.
No,
right.
My first cousin performed an abortion on Sam Giancana's daughter. And he had to flee to Arizona and was killed in Arizona by Giancana's men because he found out his daughter had an abortion. And my grandmother had a little grocery store, like a bodega in downtown Chicago. And she had this giant back room. And finally, my oldest cousin is like, Grandma, what's with the back room? She's like, oh, that's where the boys would go and have their meetings. What boys? The boys from the neighborhood.
The boys.
And she was a single mom, and forgive me for the long tangent, but single mom with 3 kids. And the mob really protected her. And it was pretty amazing because she was like very vulnerable in a very rough neighborhood, but nobody touched her because that's where they'd have their meetings.
When I met my wife, she lived in the mob mom neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Oh, outstanding.
Like a weirdly bucolic, and had always been. And it was a territory where the mob guys would buy townhouses for their mothers, and it was just agreed on as neutral ground. And it was this weird kind of vestige of a New York that doesn't really exist anymore. But
gosh, that's crazy. Matt, do you have any projects, like dream projects you always wanted to do or work on?
Oh man,
I
mean, yeah, sure, they're all dream projects, right?
Sure.
I'm incredibly fortunate that way.
Is there something that's like tearing at your skin? You got to get out. You know what I mean?
This past year was the first time that I've ever been late delivering scripts. I've been fortunate to be doing some TV work, and there was what was looked to be a strike that was going to happen before COVID. So television was kind of just on a mad crash course to like everyone get as many things done by April 1st as possible, because there might be a strike and who knows how long it's going to last. And if a show is in production and there's scripts, the scripts can still be worked on by producers, because that's producing, not writing. And like it's all, but anyway, a priority got shifted, and a couple of other things happened in comics that just were difficult. And suddenly I was late on scripts, and it never had happened before. And I hate it. I fucking hate it. Oh, it's the worst. So I'm caught up now, but like I'm still kind of my dream project right now is to get everything that's on my board done, and like I'm wrapping up stuff all at once, and kind of like I just wrote the last Jimmy Olsen scripts. I'm finishing the last November volume. I've got a Sex Criminals left to do. Like I'm wrapping stuff up. So I'm in the middle of a big end thing right now, which is kind of its own headspace. But like, yeah, I just want to get all the stuff crossed off my whiteboard.
Wow.
Like,
that certainly is a certain mindset.
Like a free territory to like fill with new ideas and whatever, figure out whatever comes next. Take advantage of that. Of a clean whiteboard instead of having to kind of still triage damage from the last year.
Sure. In the chat, there were some questions about sex criminals and working with Zdarsky and how he writes to make him laugh.
Yeah.
What is it? How important is it to build those friendships with other people in the comic community? And how is it that you and Chip work so well together? Obviously, Sex Criminals is amazing. If anybody hasn't read it, you should definitely check it out.
Thank you. I had an intern once, and I made the poor kid count words in my scripts versus words that appear on page, and about 3/5 of a script ends up only being read by the artist. Like 2/5 of what I write gets published. The other 3/5 that was where the math broke out a couple of years ago. So it is ultimately very intimate. It's like you're writing a letter to somebody, and it's a very epistolary kind of form ultimately. And I remain a fan first and foremost, and kind of plan books for artists. Like I don't ever think of a thing without knowing who I'm writing for. And at Marvel DC, it's only happened a couple times. Weirdly enough, it happened. It's happened as many times at DC as it has Marvel. And I was at Marvel for like 8 years, and I was at DC for like 12 months. But hey, that's how the sausage gets made, I guess. But it was literally 4 times in my career did I not know who was going to draw a thing that I wrote when I wrote it. But otherwise, it's always, so I write from a place of a fan. I write to try and, because I want to see, I always want to work with the people I work with. Like I'm trying to write the ultimate blank comic, right? So part of it is that, and with Chip and I getting to know each other, it was just one of those things where like, we know each other. We've known each other a very long time, even though we just met. Like it just immediately clicked. It was just one of those things. You meet somebody, and you're like, oh, you're my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where. Okay, cool. It just immediately, right? And he is just like the funniest person on earth, and I just want to try to keep up with him,
Yeah. So is it kind of like you write and then wait for his reaction, like him to email it?
Oh yeah, I will take screen. Like I get so like my thirst traps are sending jokes to Chip. Like I will take screen cap of script and send it to him just because I want him to validate me by laughing at it. It's the I try to do it as little as possible with sex criminal stuff, so that he can just kind of read it cold. But then like my favorite thing is to get the issue back from him and get to read it the first time and see all the stuff he's added. All the Chip stuff is always my favorite part, is like all the little background. Like he will one time he designed an entire menu knowing it was going to be too small. But he designed it, so like it was pretty great, That's
gonna be such a fun collaboration. That's amazing.
It's the best. It's the best. And I just got to we're gonna do a story in Detective Comics 1027. Like I'm writing a Joker. I wrote a Joker story, a Batman Joker story that Chip is drawing, and that was cool. Like oh wow, we've never flexed these muscles before. Like this is so different from like, this is cool. This is fun. Like, what is this? Like, it was a blast to write for him. But yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky.
New toys to play with, right?
Yeah. No, apparently Batman and Blue Beetle are not the same character. I did not know that. Well, there's some, you'll see it. It's a little, it's my bad.
Continuity.
Chip is fixing it. It'll be great. I got them confused. The blue costume and the gray. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
easily. I knew they were both on Justice League at one point.
What do you have coming up, John? I know you talked to Jeff Johns recently, and what else did you have coming out?
Well, tomorrow on Word Balloon, I'm going to have Alan Burnett, and he's talking about, of course, not only the Batman digital comic but the animated series. So we have great talks about that and all the contributions he made in the animated DC product and all Warner Brothers animation. And then also Craig Siegel from First Second Comics, the publisher there. Great talk with him. And then Monday I'll release the Jeff Johns, but I also have Phil Lamar coming up from Futurama and cartoons, and of course Marvin from his head blowing up in Pulp Fiction. Great stories and Mad TV. Great conversation with him. And more live streams and also some pre-recorded things. But looking forward to releasing it this week. Word Balloon and the Word Balloon YouTube channel.
Your lineup is constantly stacked. I'm so glad that most people are already more aware of you than us. So like we're lucky to have you, and it's I'm always so excited to see what you're doing next, man. You're just a great person.
Oh, you're kind. I appreciate it.
So you're going to find out sooner or later, John.
Thank you guys both for joining us. We really appreciate it. The Hero Initiative and the Red Cross appreciate it as well.
Donate hard, everybody. It's obviously these guys are doing a great thing and supporting two great causes at a time of need.
Yeah, thank you so much for making this amazing thing happen. And thanks for everybody for donating.
Absolutely.
So have a great weekend, guys, and stay safe.
Thank you, guys. Thank you again.
See you guys. Stay healthy.
Stay safe. Wear masks.
That was awesome. Wow.
I love those guys. Yeah.
Well, those guys were so great. And we have another great writer hanging backstage.
That's right.
Mr. David, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Pepos. Oh, he's on.
You're muted.
There. David, you might be muted. I can't hear you. Sorry. Can you hear us? Yeah, sorry.
Right now.
Yeah.
We're going headphoneless. Let's do this.
All right. Now we got echo. We got to go put the headphones on, I think.
Okay, we're going to try the headphones again.
Yeah,
all right.
Sorry.
No worries. All right.
You want that echo?
Yes, I agree, Christy. Donate so hard. Donate.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you.
All good.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for coming on twice today. So huge shout out to you for supporting the Mainframe Comic Con and in turn Red Cross and the Hero Initiative.
Absolutely. No, anything for a great cause. And thank you to everyone who's already donated. Because yes, the Hero Initiative, amazing. The Red Cross, pretty good too. Thank you to everyone who has chipped in and helped out because we're all in this together.
Yeah. This is probably my third time talking to you, maybe, I think. I think the first time was on Comic Cast on the SMB network. And Rylan Grant, of course, he's always a wild card. He's always popping in. Love that guy. And I'm just so happy that all you guys can come over here and do this for charity. We're constantly preaching, your guys' names and also, Spencer and Locke. You got to tell everyone about Spencer and Locke and going to the chapel. They're both just so good, and everyone loves them. And I'm always trying to bug you for Spencer and Locke 3. I know you're working on it.
Working on it. Yeah, well, I'll show everybody. For those who are not familiar with my books, we have Spencer and Locke, which is what if Calvin and Hobbes grew up in Sin City? It's really about a hard-boiled cop whose partner is his childhood imaginary friend. So a little True Detective, a little Fight Club, and 100% a love letter to classic Bill Watterson.
Badass and emotional. Yeah.
It's super fun. We've also got Going to the Chapel, which is Die Hard meets Wedding Crashers. It's about a gang of bank robbers that thinks robbing rich people's weddings would be easier than robbing banks. They're going to find out just how wrong they are. It's like if Quentin Tarantino had a baby with Arrested Development and then chose to bring that baby to a wedding.
Yeah, it is. I'm waiting for those Elvis bank robber mask variants. Like I said before, please make that happen. You got to make that happen. I got to see this Elvis mask.
I really, we were toying before, COVID sort of struck down my con schedule. I was thinking about, could we maybe make some Elvis masks, as a giveaway for people at the con. So maybe one day, never say never.
Cool. Yeah, I need those. That's awesome.
I mean, obviously, Calvin and Hobbes is kind of part of everyone's childhood. It's like a collective consciousness now at this point. My girls are obsessed with it, and I grew up. I've read. I don't think there's a single strip I haven't read.
Yep.
Well, I'm assuming it was the same for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up with it. You know, I'm a third generation comics fan. My grandfather was a comics fan. My mother was a comics fan. So I grew up with Calvin and Hobbes all over the house. My mother would cut out the strips. They're still all over my childhood house. And so, but it's so interesting reading these growing up and then revisiting them as an adult. You know, as a kid, you almost take it for granted that Bill Watterson, you know, he was a trailblazer and he was a real innovator. You know, he would mix together different styles. You know, the high concept of Calvin and Hobbes being that it's all set in one kid's crazy imagination. It sort of gave him free reign to draw whatever he wanted. And, you know, revisiting that as an adult, you see the craft that goes into it. You see the imagination that goes into it. And perhaps most selfishly as a writer, you get to see just how much free reign that gives you. And, you know, I've said this elsewhere, but, you know, when I pitched Spencer and Locke, and I that's the sort of book that you either succeed loudly or you fail even louder.
I could see that. Yeah.
And, but you know, so I didn't know if I'd ever get to do another comic, and so just sort of as a Hail Mary for my artist, I thought, well, you know, I kind of want to throw in everything in the kitchen sink because this might be my bucket list book. This may be the only thing I get to write, and you know, I want to make sure that whatever it is I turn in, I can say if I only write one comic in my life, I'm proud of it.
Yeah, well, you nailed it. You succeeded highly. You're making so many fans all the time, every day. I feel like I just see you know, your name and people preaching it constantly too. it's constantly growing. But you know, I feel like this is book one. Of course, you have the Calvin and Hobbes thing, and you know, like you said before, we all grew up reading the funny pages. I read those to death. Yes, John's kid's age. Favorite day of the week was Sunday, and read every single strip, even though I didn't even understand them. You know, I just pretend laugh because I feel like they should be funny. And in volume 2, we get the Punisher Beetle Bailey, which I thought was brilliant. That was so good.
Roach Riley, he was such a fun villain to write. I said he's like if Heath Ledger's Joker met the Deer Hunter.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
And so yeah, we actually I have the cover for that right here. So yeah, Spencer and Locke 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it came out just last year. Here, I'll show you a nice photo of Roach with the Spencer doll there. So yeah, that was a super fun book. You know, artist George Santiago Jr. and I, we really, you know, we thought about, you know, do we want to do a sequel? And I had this idea in my back pocket since the beginning. Mm-hmm. And so we talked a lot about, you know, what are examples of good sequels that we wanted to channel. We wanted to channel things like The Dark Knight, The Empire Strikes Back, The Godfather Part 2. And we've said consistently that we only wanted to do a sequel if we could swing for the fences with it. And the idea of, you know, everybody was so excited and also scared that we were taking Calvin and Hobbes and putting it through this pitch black noir lens. You know, we're sort of, you know, it's a little bit of stage magic. It's a little bit of misdirection. While you're looking over here with Calvin and Hobbes, we've got the whole rest of the funny pages.
Yes.
And so, you know, we had Beetle Bailey, we had Brenda Starr, we had Dilbert, we had The Family Circus, we had Dick Tracy get murdered with a helicopter. You know, it was a really fun way to really reevaluate the comic strips of my youth. And so, you know, we've got some really fun things in store for volume 3.
I was going to ask, I knew there has to be some cool, fun combinations, and I leans towards that.
Well, you know, let's just say a Garfield-themed serial killer picking off the Peanuts gang.
All right! Wow!
So
oh my gosh!
This is our
Dirty John going around. Oh my gosh!
It's going to be wild. This is sort of our big magnum opus for the series. That's why it's taking a little while for it to come together. There's a lot of moving pieces to this one. I've said that I reread all of Calvin and Hobbes when I started the first volume, and then I reread it again ahead of volume 2. The thing is, nobody really has expectations about Beetle Bailey. People have a lot of expectations about Garfield and Peanuts, in addition to Calvin and Hobbes. So there's a lot of research, and the thing that when we worked on Volume 1, of course, nobody knew who George and I were. And similarly with Volume 2, people kind of thought maybe this is just a one-off. George and I are in a little bit more demand now. So we've been kind of dancing in between the raindrops with various projects while still trying to get this project done in the way that we want to. And so it's, I'm the holdup. I'll fully admit it. I'm still working on the scripts. But I want to make sure, and I promised this to George, that I said, we're going to take the time that it takes to get this thing right. We've seen so many bad threequels out there. I feel like it's hard to find good examples in the marketplace, but there's a lot of things in our DNA that we're tying into this. Seven, Sleepers, The Long Halloween, The Dark Knight Returns. So there's going to be some really. We're going to pay everything off in a very big way, and Spencer and Locke's dynamic will continue to grow and evolve as the series continues.
Yeah, everyone, please pick it up if you have not. And it's on sale on Comixology.
Yeah,
it's worth every penny. Also, I saw on Twitter that one time, and I had to tag it because Francisco Francavilla did a very kind of style, and I was like, David Pepos, right now, like, look at this.
He wouldn't remember, but I definitely emailed him when we were developing Spencer and Locke to be like, hey, do you ever want to do a cover? And of course, he's Francisco Francavilla, so he's way busy. He did not see my email, I'm sure, but. A boy can dream. Perhaps one day we'll
I was really hoping, it made that connection when I saw that tweet. I was really hoping you would pop up on his radar and he'd be like, "Wow, this is brilliant. I need to be a part of this."
Yeah, I
tried.
I appreciate it. Shoot your shot, shoot my shot. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
There are a handful of creators. Scotty Young, I know, is a big Calvin and Hobbes fan, and it's on my bucket list to introduce myself and slip him a copy of the book, see what he says. It's been really incredible seeing between volumes 1 and volume 2, and I'm sure when volume 3 comes out, is that new people discover the series every time, and as a writer, especially since that was my first book, it really means the world to me. Is that it was a book that was very personal to me, and I think you always favor your firstborn a little bit. and so the fact that people continue to discover it and continue to feel something, it really makes me feel like I've done my job as a writer.
Absolutely. How about for going to the chapel? What's next in that?
Yeah, so we wrapped the series in February. Our trade paperback came out, and we've had some really cool conversations about sort of what the future of that book will look like. There's not a whole lot I can say about it without sticking my foot in my mouth, but suffice to say. There's been a lot of people who have looked at the book, which has been very encouraging for me. We were really fortunate that comedian Patton Oswalt was a big fan of our book from opening day, and look, Going to the Chapel was a very hard series to write. Because
there's not many rom-coms out there, you know what I mean? Especially from a comic book form. Jeez, that's a very hard undertaking.
I felt that rom-coms got a bad name, right. And I get it because the way that we look at them in Hollywood, they're seen as very flat. They're seen as very predictable. Based on the poster, who's going to wind up with who, and then you add in the direct market and the consumer habits there. And so, I can't tell you how many people I pitched Going to the Chapel to saying, we don't know how to sell a rom-com. And I said, well, it's a rom-com, but it's also a crime book. It's about a wealthy bride grappling with a case of cold feet, but then her wedding is taken over by a gang of Elvis-themed bank robbers. And it's sort of when the heist goes sideways and it turns into a full-blown hostage situation, this bride is going to sort of become the unlikely ringleader trying to escape her own wedding. And I wrote it. I was the world's worst best man at a wedding.
Okay.
The bachelor party I planned was cursed from top to bottom.
Oh no! You got to tell us what happened.
Yeah, the Airbnb was crashed. I had rented inflatable sumo suits for the backyard, thinking that'd be
That's
funny.
amazing.
But the
Yeah.
backyard was at a 45-degree angle.
Oh, everyone just rolled.
Yeah, people rolling down. I wound up getting hit with a kidney stone about 48
shit.
hours before, so I actually missed the whole bachelor party. And so I was trying to troubleshoot this bachelor party on the wrong side of the country while on painkillers. And I
Wow.
thought to myself, boy, this is the world's worst bachelor party. And then I said, well, at least it didn't happen during the wedding. And then the light bulb went off and I said, but what if it did? And that became going to the chapel. Sort
How
of the
about
wedding
that?
from hell. Yeah, I mean, but it actually, I felt there wound up being like a deeper message to it. I feel like, I mean, at least from my own personal experience, happily ever after has little dips and curves. It's never a straight line. It's never a straightforward point A to point B.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I feel like we've seen a lot in pop culture of guys getting cold feet, guys having
Sure.
second thoughts, guys eyeing the exits. We don't really see that a lot from a woman's perspective, and I feel like they have a lot more to lose than
Absolutely. We were talking to Greg Rucka last night, and he brought up the same point where there's a lot of comic tropes, and once you add in a female's perspective instead of the usual male, it just changes everything.
Absolutely, he's dead on, and I see Rucka as a big influence on my work, and
brilliant. Yeah,
it was just, but it was definitely a challenging book to write because we had 15 people in it, and we're sort of juggling all these cast members in one constricted location inside this chapel. So I'll never say never as far as a sequel is concerned. I wouldn't say. I have an idea. If the stars were aligned and there was enough demand for it, the great thing about going to the chapel is not only are there a ton of great other songs that you can sample for series, but there are a great many other life events besides getting married that I think people have trepidations and anxieties over that they have to conquer.
Sure.
And so, I mean, what happens when the baby makes 3?
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of that can be told with Emily and the Bad Elvis Gang, and so I never say never.
Okay.
The challenging part for me at this juncture is I'm juggling. I was thinking about it earlier today. I'm actually juggling 5 separate projects right now.
Holy cow! I was going to say, what else you have planned? Oh my, I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah, I can. I talk about them in terms of code names on my newsletter. Pep Talks. I take the Warren Ellis School, so I've got Project Tag Along, which is kind of it's like a post-apocalyptic Hunger Games kind of story, and it's almost like Fallout meets Joan of Arc, and hasn't we've not announced a publisher yet, but we are hard at work on that. I'm really excited. I've been diving in deep on a fantasy project that I'm calling Project Saffron. That I sort of, if you like Mad Max and you like Lord of the Rings, you're gonna really dig this one. We have got a fantastic art team attached.
I was noticing, and maybe it's just me with the books I've been picking up, that there's been a sort of resurgence of fantasy in comics lately. DC's got that big Black Label book that I've been reading, White Trees by Chip Zdarsky, dropped recently. I feel like something's going on in the water where people are moving that direction now a little more.
It feels like a very untapped vein, and I think I've always, you wouldn't know it based on my crime books, but I've always gravitated towards fantasy because the magic is the metaphor. And so you can really get an interesting sense of a character's psychology based on you have a certain, you have how magic is written down on paper, but the way it expresses itself, it's a form of characterization in a way. And so this book, it's very much a spiritual successor to Spencer and Locke in a lot of ways. I think it's some of the best work I've ever done. And so we've been in discussions with a publisher, and they said even during COVID, they said they were still interested. So we're hard at work on that. I've talked a little bit about it online, but I'm still hard at work on my upcoming sci-fi book, Grand Theft Astro, which
Great
thank
title.
you. Yeah, it's kind of the Fast and the Furious meets Back to the Future in space. It's I figured throughout human history, if you can drive it, you will race it, whether it is horses, chariots, or spaceships.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast. And so this is the story of Hakeem Hermes Henriksen, who is the fastest star chaser in the galaxy. And during a race, he activates an experimental quantum supercharger that accidentally tears open a wormhole that throws him 7 years into the future.
Oh.
So he's going to have to go on a faster than light heist to try to find some technology that might bring him back home. So there's a little bit of Rogue One in there, a little bit of Flight of the Navigator. I'm very excited. The series is already written. I'm working with artist Jordi Perez from Queen of Bad Dreams. He is hard at work on our pages right now. So I'm very excited for when we have more to show on that one. I've got a YA book that I'm working on.
All right.
I was tired of having shows that I couldn't sell anything to children, so I am working to correct that. We're in talks with an artist right now over it, and it's kind of like if Pokemon had a baby with Pacific Rim.
Oh, fun.
Without spoiling too much there, but this one's a very personal project to me. And as more is revealed, people will see why. But and then Spencer and Lock 3, of course. So it's a lot of balls in the air, but like we were talking about in my panel earlier today, I feel like while we're all staying at home doing social distancing, this is the time to bank up work. Because publishers are going to be looking for content, maybe not for 2020 and maybe not even for 2021 at this point, but 2022, 2023, 2024, publishers are still going to be looking for things. And I've always said that if I don't like a project enough that I would self-publish it out of spite, it's not good enough for me to be pursuing. All of these projects I feel so strongly about, and I'm very excited for them to see the light of day.
That's a great role. That's a great mindset.
So, yeah, it's very exciting, and I think for people who have enjoyed Spencer and Locke and who have enjoyed going to the chapel, you're going to see sort of my branching off into sci-fi and fantasy. It's going to make sense, I promise, and I think you're going to find a lot of things to enjoy.
Is there a passion project you want to get to? Like we know, like Ryland Grant wants to do Karate Kid.
Yeah.
What was yours?
Well, besides working for the big two, when I would love to do so. I got my start as a DC intern during Final Crisis. And
Shazam, right? Is that what it was?
Shazam would be my top choice for the DC universe. I feel like the fact that Billy Batson is not a top 10 selling character at DC is
criminal.
It's criminal. He should be like DC's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Right.
Sort of the logical offshoot of an all-star Superman world. This is, Billy Batson he's pure of heart. We get to experience his growth on a superhuman scale.
Right. We've never seen him in school. We've never seen him act with like other like peers and things like that. Not really.
The very first comic script I ever wrote before Spencer and Locke, before anything else, I wrote a spec script for Shazam about Billy Batson's first kiss.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you can do so much.
There's a lot you can do.
Untapped.
He's such an engaging and endearing character because I think we all have experienced the trials and tribulations of Billy Batson's life.
Okay. And I mean, there's also a wonderful I don't want to interrupt. I'm sorry, but you talked about Calvin and Hobbes as a touchstone, the idea of a child and their imagination and where it takes them. And obviously Billy Batson is the child superhero, right?
Yeah, exactly. I will say, without spoiling too much, I had Superman not knowing what Billy's secret was. Billy asks him, "How do you get girls to like you?" And so his solution is setting him up on a blind date with Zatanna. And Zatanna looking at him very weird when he's like, "Let's go to Chuck E. Cheese." I feel like Billy is an incredible character. I will say though, pure bucket list, Captain Planet. I would.
That's right, man.
I
forgot you said.
desperately want to write a Captain Planet book. It was Earth Day this week, so I talked a little bit about it on Twitter this week. Captain Planet is one of those properties Ted Turner helped spearhead it. Ted Turner personally. And so from everything that I've been told, Ted has a very iron grip on all things Captain Planet related. Captain Planet has his own office in the Turner landscape. And I've always said that is a property that is primed for the 21st century.
Absolutely.
Globe-trotting action with environmental and social justice. It's
social relevance all the time.
It's inherently diverse. I've likened it to the first Avengers movie meets Avatar: The Last Airbender, with a little bit of sort of that globe-trotting Transformers action. And yeah, I've got a pitch that would make an executive's toes curl. So I one day just, I tell everybody, put me in the game, coach. I will make Captain Planet. We will make green for the environment. We will make green for your wallet. Let's make some magic happen.
Yeah,
so,
you're ready to play. Put me in, coach.
Put me in. So yeah, I would definitely Shazam, Captain Planet, and I guess on Marvel's side, Doctor Strange.
Nice. All right.
I feel like that's another example of a character who does not have the draw that they should have.
Yeah, and I feel like I've really liked some of the stuff that Jason Aaron did in terms of sort of looking at the rest of the magical Marvel universe. I had an idea way back that would really draw in people like Dr. Voodoo, Wiccan, Elsa Bloodstone. Those were some of the characters that really kind of were the anchor for my pitch. But yeah, Stephen Strange, I feel like there's so much fun stuff that can be done, and he's such a flawed character. His arrogance really is, in my mind, a crucial part of his character, especially because he's playing with forces beyond those of mortal men. And that means sometimes he might bite off more than he can chew. And without getting too much into my idea, he was going to have bitten off a little bit more than he could chew, and so he was going to have to take some apprentices. And so being able to look at the magical Marvel universe from that angle, from people who are not as steeped in it, or steeped in it from different angles with different motivations and different things to prove, that's fun.
Yeah.
So one day, it's one of those things, though, writing for the big two, it's not as easy as it looks.
I would not want to, honestly. I would be more about writing my own thing and my independent stuff as opposed to run for Marvel or DC, but that's just my opinion. And it is a really cool gig, but man, that is too much stress.
I never want to be the guy who thinks he can run before he can walk.
Yeah.
And so I'm loving working on creator owned stuff. The best part about working on creator owned is it's always stuff that you love, and if you don't love it, you've made a wrong turn somewhere. I was up till 3 a.m. working on a Project Saffron script last night, and you know what? I woke up this morning and I hopped right back to it. And I've been really fortunate that that this is my job, and it's something that I can spend 24/7 trying to work out in my head. And being with you guys is really it shows it gives me a second wind. So just having readers respond to it, it keeps me going.
Well, for more encouragement, you're good at your job, and more people want to see you succeed, and they want to give you platforms to talk on because you're so good at it too. So yeah, man, just keep at it, dude. I mean, you are going to keep at it no matter what, but I'm just glad to be here to help, preach to the choir. Everyone, I think a lot of people are just knowing, how good you are more and more. So
thank you. The thing is, and for people who want to know how to get into comics, I've always said talent will only get you so far. The real barometer of whether or not you're going to have success in this industry is your threshold for pain and whether or not you're willing to stick it out when others won't. And I said this when Diamond went on hiatus, and I'll say it now. I'm not going anywhere. The direct market could collapse tomorrow, and I'm not going anywhere. I'll be on Kickstarter the next day. I've been really fortunate, not just to be working on projects that I love, but to be working with creators who are just so talented that it makes me put in 120% every single day. And I think it would be criminal for people not to see George Santiago Jr.'s work or Gavin Guidry's work or Jordi Perez or Ruben Rojas or any of the other artists that I'm working with. And that's what gets me out of bed every morning. That's what keeps me in the game. And so, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be doing this until I'm 85. And so
the Hero Initiative will be there to take care of you because
thank you. Paying it forward. So yeah, thank you. For everybody who's been reading and everybody who's been supporting. Everybody who's been following on Twitter or been reading my newsletter, Pep Talks. I was going to ask, how do people get in contact, and how do people?
Do you have a Patreon as well, or another Kickstarter or anything?
I should, but so I'm on Twitter and Instagram at PepOsD. I got my username right here. It's my last name, first initial. I also have a newsletter that I send out every 3 weeks called Pep Talks, and that's at bit.ly/Pep News, and you can subscribe to that. I promise I won't spam you. And that'll be the latest and greatest way to find out what I'm working on next. Fingers crossed, I'll have an announcement hopefully sooner rather than later. And rest assured, even just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm not working.
So I see I'm on the page right now. Sign up for newsletter. I'm going to drop the link for this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry that I'm a little slow here in the chat, but there we go. I'm dropping this in. Looks like they didn't like my comment, so I'll have to do it again. It's linktree.com/PepOsD.
Yeah, that's got links to everything. That's got my Twitter, my Instagram. You can buy my books on Amazon or Comixology, and it's also got a link to Pep Talks.
Okay.
So yeah, that is a one-stop shop for
Linktree is great.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I was going to say, keep following. Stay tuned. We've got more to come soon. I only feel a little selfish that I feel a little grateful that I don't have anything to promote during COVID. But that said, if you're looking for new reads while you're social distancing, you can get Spencer and Locke and Spencer and Locke 2 and go into the chapel. You can order it through your comic shop. You can order it on Amazon. You can read it on Comixology. If you're a member of Comixology Unlimited, you can actually read all of Spencer and Locke Volume 1 for free. I will also say, if you're looking to dip your toes into the pool for going to the chapel, I'll be at Alt Free Comic Day next weekend.
Nice. All right.
And we'll be offering the first issue of that for free. So if you want to know sort of the hot new rom-com, the wedding hostage situation of the century.
Yeah, the yet to be movie.
Yes. Fingers crossed. We're working hard. And thank you guys for having me on this. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. We got to have you back sometime.
Please, anytime.
All right, cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. And like he just said, you can find him all across social media. I just subbed you on Instagram. I know several other people did. So we're looking forward to more from you in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, guys. You have a great night.
Stay safe.
Thank you. I love that guy. Yeah, I love
awesome.
David.
This has been great. I mean, I'll tell you, this is 2 nights in a row, a lot of great creators, and we got another one backstage to talk to right now. Potsy, what's up, man?
Hey, Potsy, what's up, dude?
What's going on, guys?
How you doing, man?
I am good. I originally I thought I was told 2 a.m. Eastern. If we're early, we're early. I'm okay with that. I was always taught if you're early, you're on time, right? So
right there you go.
We'll probably actually be joined by some of the other Keen Spot creators as well. So
Right.
I know that at least one of them actually said he'll be here. The other two were like, I don't know if I'll be awake, but
It's late, and we totally understand. This is the late shift Jason and I are running here. We were supposed to have someone named Stephen Prince come on, but we haven't gotten any link or check-in from them. So it's perfect that you came in just right now.
Oh.
You want to tell a little people about Junior High Horrors and a little about what you've got going on right now?
Sure, absolutely. Junior High Horrors is an all ages horror parody. It's the first ever comic book to use dyslexia friendly fonts. Was on ABC's Localish because of that, so that was pretty awesome. You'll also notice that I have a shirt on for something called X Liefelds. That was another title that I had come out last year. It's a parody of 90s X-Men comics, all about Rob Liefeld creating some of the best characters of the 90s, and of course he had to have created some really terrible characters as well, and that's their story. So Junior High Horrors actually just had a new book come out on Comixology. It'll be in comic stores after comic stores open back up fully, and Diamond starts shipping books again. It's called the April Fool's Day Special. One of the really cool things about that book is both Eric and I, the artist and writer team of it, also flip-flopped roles for some of the issues. So because of that, I actually take on the artist side of it. Still let Eric do the coloring and everything, so it all matched up. But yeah, it was pretty interesting.
I love the artwork right behind your shoulders there. The Nancy homage to Nightmare on Elm Street, always an absolute fantastic homage.
Yeah, that one actually came out in stores before the DC Deceased book did. So people started asking me whether or not we were going to see that as one of their homage covers, and I was like, "Oh, of course we will." So
you were working on some stuff today, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Thank you. I actually started writing the next Junior High Horror special. I'm calling it Strangest Thingies. It kind of sounds like something kids would say these days. It will be, obviously, it'll be a Stranger Things parody. It's going to have some pretty funny visual jokes in it. And I'm pretty excited about it because it's going to introduce couple characters that look very similar to the ones that you see in Stranger Things.
That's fun.
Including my favorite, Modine. So
that's great. I always had this funny thing with Stranger Things. If I was to make a parody, I'd be like, oh yeah, the upside down. No, it's called the right side up because our eyes already automatically flip things upside down.
I was actually thinking about how to play with that, and I kind of think that what I'm going to do is send one of the characters to Australia.
Hey,
so
all right.
That would be the upside down or the backwards swirling toilets, I guess.
Oh, that is funny. I like that. That's great.
So you guys have had some awesome guests on here.
We really have, man, all day.
Is this a friend of yours, Mr. Billy Parker?
Yes, Billy Parker. You are muted, however, sir. So you got to turn off the mute.
There's no rush. Thank you for joining us, Billy.
That's good. Thank you. No problem. This was great. Thank you.
Now, Billy, why don't you go ahead and talk about how you actually got involved with Junior High Horrors and then what that led to?
Oh, how I got involved. Well, I met Rob one day at Greensboro Comic Con. He was sitting beside me, and I turned to him before the con and said, "By the way, if I become annoying by talking too much, just turn and tell me to be quiet." So
adult language, but
yeah. Well, I could tell that a little bit now, but
and since then we've been friends for 3 years.
Yeah, pretty much. So Rob had the idea and said he was looking for some people, and I had some time, and so we got together, and it worked out pretty well.
Now, Billy, you also had D Ward #1 came out with pretty good success, and it had a really good retailer incentive cover, didn't it?
Yes. I had the I don't have it beside me right now. I wish I did. It was the Ben Templesmith cover, so it was really nice to work with him and get that out, and it did really well.
Now, but if anybody's actually looking for those, you still have a couple copies of that one, don't you?
I do. I have those available. They are also still available on the Keen Spot shop website.
Okay, we'll have to find the link and put it in the chat so everyone can find it as well.
Okay.
If I share my if I share my screen, it's only going to show what I've got. But I believe it's keenspotshop.com/collections.
Okay.
/Billy-Parker.
That's it.
So how long have you guys worked together? It seems like I feel like you guys have known each other forever. Is that what's going on here?
No, in fact, we really haven't. Like literally 2000. I guess this is our third year of knowing each other.
Yes.
Like Billy said, in 2018, we were sitting there at Greensboro Comic Con, and out of nowhere, he just chatted me up because we were sitting next to each other at the show. And he said, hey, if you ever want to work on a project together, let me know. I really want to get a book out there. I really want to have some stuff going on. And from there, I came up with the idea of Junior High Horrors. And it was like, hey, do you know anybody who wants to be the penciler of it? We had a guy on there. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out, but we were able to continue working on the book. Never missed a deadline, which is something I'm super proud of. You know, and in fact, the only reason why Junior High Horrors or D Ward seems to have missed a deadline is because of China. So you know that's
not on you.
Happens, I guess.
That's not on you, brother.
You know, we keep asking to disinfect the books, but you know. But no. After that, you know, we pretty much. You know, I ran ideas by him. The idea of Junior High Horrors, I always joke about it. I was sitting at a bar with a buddy of mine who's a New York City police officer. He was talking about how there was a really weird case that he was working on about a serial killer who was also a doctor. And while that hasn't been anything involved with the book, it got me thinking, oh my God, what if you took Jason Voorhees and put him in Peanuts? And the very first drawings I did of the characters were all different renditions of different cartoons and different comic strips that had the characters. So I know that you guys just had David Pepos on, and he obviously did a book called Spencer and Locke. Well, one of the ideas and one of the big you know, imaginative characters in Junior High Horrors is Frederick the Scaredy Cat, who is basically Nancy's, and Nancy's a character parallel to Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
Frederick is her imaginary friend. So the very first drawings that were actually done of Frederick were actually as like a Calvin and Hobbes style character. Except the color scheme was more Freddy Krueger. So all that kind of played in, and I think that it's awesome that, you know, you just had David Pepos on, who also is very inspired by Bill Watterson and his character.
Yes.
Yeah. So and then from there, the whole idea just started to congeal, move around, you know, and it just became, you know, I'm going to take those characters and basically make them the losers club from it, you know, so they're always getting made fun of and everything else, but still somehow they overcome the issues that go on with that kind of stuff of being a 12-year-old kid that gets made fun of by the jocks or the you know, the mean girls of the school and everything else, and just take that and kind of work it around. So
yeah.
it ended up being, I thought it ended up being pretty good.
So where can people find Junior High Horrors if they want to get it?
At any of your local comic stores, or, you know, I just mentioned Billy's collection site on Keenspot. I also have one. It's keenspotshop.com/collections/Rob-Pochak. And then of course if you message me on my Instagram, Facebook, I do have a Facebook page, Rob Pochak. If you go there and actually request, you know, like signed copies, Billy and I live close enough to each other. We can actually make sure that copies are signed by both of us.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, I'll remark the issues. I think it's really cool to have people want the books. and with it being an all ages title, it's something that, you know, one of the things that we really noticed at the beginning was that that kids don't really have anything horror besides like Goosebumps, right? But kids want horror books. They want to read horror stuff. Billy and I were doing a convention last year called Carolina Fear Fest, and a mom walked up holding her 3-year-old child, and the child walked up, you know, like in her arms. It was like, "Mommy, can I have the one that looks like Michael Myers?" And the mom looked at her like really awkward, and then goes, "Of course you can," you know, because it's a horror convention, and it was just one of those moments where it was like I knew we were onto something with it because of that. And then Billy's wanted to work on different types of horror projects, so he came up with the D Ward, which, you know, why don't you go ahead and explain what that's all about, Billy?
Yeah, the D Ward is basically sorry guys, I was not. I always get choked up when I start talking about the book. So basically, a kid goes through some serious trauma, and as a child becomes aware that people have mental disorders, and so he decides to become a psychiatrist. Well, when he becomes a psychiatrist, he goes into a psych hospital and starts working with people who have the disorder of demonomania, which is seeing demons. And this is what happened when he was young. His older brother saw a demon, or said he saw a demon. So he gets into that end of the psychiatry field and finds out, of course, that demons are real. And so then you go through meeting the different characters of the psych ward, the D Ward, and so it goes on from there.
Kind of takes a David Lynch feel with Ghostbusters.
There you go.
We like to say One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest mixed with Supernatural. So, you know.
Nice. And is that available in the same forms? Where can people find that?
It's also on the Keen Spot shop under my name, and the books, actually, I guess we're still in
issues 3 and 4 are still in
3
transit.
and 4 are still in, we're still in transit on the coming overseas. So those will be released when things get back to normal.
Well, that's something to look forward to. Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, and then hopefully, of course, there'll be a graphic novel form that will be available after that. So,
alrighty,
awesome. I'm sorry, guys. We have Steven backstage, and we're gonna work him in now. But I've dropped the link for Keen Spot. You guys can search Junior High Horrors, the D Ward, Immortal, and you can find these guys on like Facebook, Instagram, those kind of things too.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook.com/Rob Pochak, Instagram @Rob Pochak, Billy's Comics, COMIXED.
Awesome.
It has to be that way.
Guys, thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for everything that you're doing. You guys are awesome. Love the interviews that you had earlier. I've been watching all day. So
thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Supporting the Red Cross and the Hero Initiative. We really do appreciate you guys taking the time to do that as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Both are great causes. So couldn't be happier to help out.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
You too.
Bye.
All right, so here we go. Steven, you found us. Himself. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good to have you.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah.
So
sorry about the confusion earlier. Yeah, we're happy to have you here, buddy.
This is Jason. I'm John. We're running the late show here. This is Steven Prince. He's got several e-comics that he is here to talk about, several books that you can download and get right now. Steven, I'm so glad that you made it here today, or tonight, I should say.
Yeah.
We got several books that we want to talk about, but obviously you've named yourself Monster Matador, so I think you know right where you want to start tonight.
Yeah. My first question to him is
the creator of Monster Matador, and it's basically a post-apocalyptic tale about a father who is wanting to make a better world for his daughter by fighting monsters. and it's kind of like Godzilla meets Mad Max by way of a telenovela.
Oh, that sounds great.
And I started off writing and drawing the book. I've done 12 issues so far, and I'm actually relaunching it with a Kickstarter in probably May or June. With everything going on, I've been trying to figure out a date, and I've got the artist of Banjax, Fabio Alves.
Oh, nice.
So good. He's so good.
Ryland Grant is a friend of Mainframe,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, we love him.
Here's a little bit of a little taste of what Fabio's been doing here.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh, beautiful.
I mean, he's amazing. So let's see.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's taken the book to a whole new level, and the colorist is Alex Zeff, who's from Mexico City, and it's going to be amazing.
We got
pretty cool.
Saffron, I was gonna say, dang, Steve Prince looking good in quarantine.
That's right.
You got
Thank you,
fans in the chat here throwing some love your way.
Yep.
Fortunately, my wife is in the other room. So
I was wondering when Volume 2 comes out, because I know Volume 1 has been out.
I can't hear Jason for some reason. He's not coming in.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's saying that when Volume 2 comes out, he's got some questions about the follow up to Volume 1.
Yeah.
So Jason, I'm going to drop out, then I'll come back in. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You try jumping out and coming back in.
I'm sorry.
No worries. So, from what I understand, everything that you've made as far as Monster Matador and I know your other books, all on Comixology, right?
Everything's on Comixology. And I have on monstermatador.com as well. You can get it straight from there. I think it's cheaper.
Okay, so then, hey, skip the Comixology, save yourself some bucks.
I think I have some free books up on there too.
Sorry, what was that?
I think I have some free books up on there. If not, I'll get on that tonight or tomorrow and
awesome.
Make sure everyone watching gets some freebies.
So, what was the inspiration for Matadors and Monsters and this wonderful mashup?
It's it was kind of one of those weird writing exercises, delusions of grandeur, where I decided I was going to come up with a iconic character, kind of a Batman-esque character, and I've always been kind of obsessed with the iconography of matadors, and the name just popped into my head, and I was kind of like, oh, it's pretty obvious, right? Monster Matador.
It's great alliteration.
Yeah, it's great alliteration. I mean, it's got some Stan Lee thing going over there. Not to compare myself.
No. Hey, but hey,
yeah.
We all
whatever works, right?
Yeah.
And I, it just kind of took it from there. It's just fun watching a guy, in his suit of lights and the cape and just a tiny sword fighting, Godzilla-like monsters. People always, they try to wonder how he fights, and we actually did an animated trailer, which I know I provided to you guys, which they're going to play on the channel. Ooh, I don't know.
Loaded it. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I know. I mean, you guys are doing such a great job. So
I don't see it loaded here, so maybe Chad's got it. I know he's going to run some clips tomorrow for Artist
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Like that. So he might be having it then.
Yeah, awesome.
Can you hear Jason now, hopefully?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I see him now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, the art's incredible, and it seems like such a fun story. Having a matador, a post-apocalyptic world, fighting monsters. That's so cool. It's so unique. I've never seen, and even how would you even think of that?
No, I mean, like I said, it just kind of like the name. The name popped into my head, and then it just all flowed from there. And it's like one of those things where I was shocked no one did it.
Wow.
Sorry, Barry, we will make it up to you. I'm sorry.
The fans are raging.
Yeah.
They demand it.
So
you have several other books though that I noticed on Comixology as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about some of those? I saw the third.
Yeah.
Unemployment.
So what happened was I used to work at a toy company, and I used to be in product development, and I developed toy lines and animated shows, and basically we went out of business. Happens, right?
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a dream job though.
I
While it lasts, that sounds really cool.
That's where Untitled came from, and which is unfortunately even more relevant now than it was back then, unfortunately. But it's basically about nature's hardest workers. What happens when they lose their jobs?
Mm.
So it's basically what happened to me when I got unemployed,
Aw.
but from the point of view of an ant. And it's interesting because people who have never been through it kind of read it and are like, "Oh, it's a little dark, it's a little." And then people who have been unemployed are like, "Yep, that's
Nailed it. That's what it's
hard. I mean,
like.
it's harsh, it's tough." So I get
It
that.
is
Well, it sounds like more people will be able to appreciate it now than ever.
more than ever. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. And then the third is this. God, that's so long ago. It's a crazy sci-fi epic. I'm a huge Alejandro Jodorowsky fan.
Yeah.
The
So
meta
Gore Vidal in
narrative.
the chat, him and I are same.
And,
El Topo was one of the best
Topo, yeah,
movies
Holy
ever.
Mountain,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and that's basically like my sci-fi story. So what if these two just regular people find the most powerful object in the universe,
Mm.
and everyone is after them, and it's in this galaxy that's ruled by kind of a universal church, and it's a lot of action and sci-fi fun. Yeah, it's 200 pages, but basically I was trying to learn how to draw.
Man.
And then, and then I got to the point
Right?
where I was ready to do Monster Matador.
As you're going along, you gotta practice and perform it, right?
Yeah, and that's David Pepos, who you had on before, was mentioning something. But I think the great thing about Comixology and things, I've done panels and people always come up to me after, or come up to us, and they're like, "Oh, I've got these ideas, but I'm not, I don't know if I'm good enough or this or that." And ultimately, you just have to get it out there. And part of what makes you get better, part of what pushes you forward is putting the work out there. You put one issue, you're more motivated to do another and another and another, and at some point you get to be interviewed on the Mainframe Comic Con.
Thank you, man. That's very humble of you.
Cool,
it sounds you've done so many ambitious things. It seems
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and it seems like you're just getting started, which is even more encouraging.
It feels that way. Yeah, I think people don't realize it's not an overnight thing. It really is like you keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And I mean, I'm lucky at this point to be working with an artist like Fabio.
He's so good. He's so good.
Oh my God, the stuff he's doing on this book it's incredible. So it's amazing. He just turned in a few more pages today to just keep blowing me away.
That's awesome. How did that relation happen? Was that through Ryland Grant?
Yeah, it's through Ryland. I was Ryland and I were friends. We met at one of Jim Higgins' comic school at Meltdown Comics.
Oh, cool.
So we've known each other for a while, and I was having a hard time finding an artist for the book, and Fabio was available, and it was interesting with Fabio because I didn't audition him, I didn't have him do any sketches, I didn't have him do anything, but I knew his work from Banjax and I knew how good he was, and we just kind of hit the ground running. And the first page that he sent me, he drew the Matador, and if you look at the way I draw it,
Mhm.
and he interpreted, like, if I could draw good like him, like what's in my head, what this guy looks like, that's what he did, and he just keeps bringing it, like it just brings it to life.
Gosh, I wish I could draw. That's so cool that you can do that and be a storyteller at the same time. It's that Sean Gordon Murphy recipe of perfection. You know what I mean? To be a creator and a writer and just to be able to create your own stuff all the time. Oh man, that's a dream come true and an ambition that everyone should try to achieve.
It's purity. It's purity of craft, but that's why it's so important to find great collaborators.
Show you the way a little bit.
So I've dropped a couple of links in the chat for folks that are in the chat. MonsterMatador.com. I mentioned Comixology, where they can find the work as well. Series 2 for Monster Matador. What is the planned release date for that?
So we're going to do with everything that. So it was originally May 15th we were going to launch a Kickstarter, and with everything that happened, I kind of held back a little bit.
Sure.
So it's probably going to be late May or June. And you can check out info at monstermatador.com. It'll be updated there. My Instagram at Monster Matador, and Facebook page Monster Matador.
That's awesome.
Do you have a Patreon as well?
I don't have a Patreon.
Okay.
I haven't done that. I haven't set that up.
Okay.
But the approach that I'm taking right now is going to do a series of limited series.
Okay.
Sort of like the Hellboy thing. That way,
Yeah.
it's like it's easy to jump in. You don't feel like you're in the middle of something, and it's very reader friendly. So
that's
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time.
We got to get that trailer tomorrow before the fans riot. We have
Absolutely.
to do that. I got to see it.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe. Okay. I don't want to. I'm not. I mean, 2 nights in a row, Jason and I bringing some late night awesome heat with some talented people with some great quality books and product out there. So amazing. And I kind of have talked to Jason a few times about how the one thing I feel like our shows have been missing, the one thing from all nights that we just don't have right now is cosplay.
You're right. Absolutely.
I feel like a con is books, sure. Artists, sure. Movie people, sure. But dang it, I feel like cosplay is such an important part of the fun of a Comic-Con.
Yeah, we definitely needed some representation, and we're going to work on that for next year. I got some good leads and some things are going to happen for next time around. So we'll have a bigger and better experience, but we haven't had it yet.
But I can do you one better right now, because in my opinion, in our comic book community, the best cosplay couple that I can possibly think of are Delphia and Kachung, our friends over at the Kachung channel. I'm going to drop their link. They're going to unmute, but look at them. You guys look amazing.
Hey.
That is
I'm
awesome.
excited to dress up a little bit for the show tonight, John.
Yeah, we couldn't join you guys without putting something on.
Those costumes are amazing. Yeah, I love Moon Knight. Delphia looks amazing and stunning as usual. She's just dressed normally. Now, you didn't even cosplay.
They even dressed up Maleficent in the background, so she doesn't have her Post-its on right now.
I know, we took care of the Post-its.
Yeah, you guys have been doing amazing.
Cosplay couple, they are amazing. Instagram, they both have their own accounts over there. Kachung, DK Comics and Cosplay. They both have their own YouTube channels. I just dropped the link to Kachung's channel on YouTube here. You guys are awesome. I absolutely love you guys.
You guys on Couple Gories crushed it.
Oh,
it was so fun to watch.
That was so hard. That was really difficult. Well, we appreciate you guys having us on. Everyone's been doing amazing. This is an awesome cause, and what a marathon. I mean, there's been some amazing artists, creators. I was having fun just earlier listening to David. My God, what an imagination.
Yeah,
I instantly was like, I'm signing up for your email. I'm getting
all the books, all the books.
Everything.
And then listening to Robert Burnett interview Andy Park earlier, that was amazing.
Right?
Great host, awesome designer, and it gave me inspiration to come on at 2 a.m. in cosplay, as we probably would be at a con.
Right.
Right into the night.
Definitely.
Right, there you go. And that's Potsy in the chat there. He was on earlier sharing his horror high books. So definitely check out Potsy as well. But let's talk cosplay, you guys.
Good.
You guys
need to know
so hard designing, building, assessing, I remember the first time we started talking to you on my channel, it was a lot of like you saying, okay, Dragon Con is a year away. We got so much to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's
planning.
definitely something. It's something that, I feel like unfortunately in the previous years, we would just wait until about 5 or 6 months before instead of doing it the entire year. And then we would just literally come home from work and then work on our cosplays every night until around like 2 a.m.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Yeah, the cosplayers, there's a whole community of them, from total beginner all the way to amazing advanced, and they all of them go through a crunch period. So they're getting ready for a con. Some go to more than others. Some go to cons all through the year and they travel around. But there's always that crunch. They're always pushing the last minute to get these costumes built,
right.
and created. And for us, we go to one a year. This year it probably won't happen, but
It's still slated to happen as of now.
right.
So what is it about? I mean, I know you're in Georgia, so Dragon Con is nearby. It's your neighbor con. Is that the only reason? Because I get the feeling you guys are like, if you were in California, you'd be flying to Dragon Con. I get the feeling it's a big deal for you.
Well, I think honestly, if it's an investment. I think any con you go to is an investment, and not only of money but of time. I think we would probably go to 10 cons a year if we had the time.
And we got paid for it. We have regular jobs, and we got to get that done and pay the bills. So
sure,
it's a hobby for us, and it came from an extension of Halloween, enjoying making costumes and. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, also a lot of times we'll see people that go to various cons, and I feel like they get their cosplay to like 30%, and then they make another costume for a different con. And so for us, we would rather just pour our energy into our builds for Dragon Con, and we usually do one big build each, and then sometimes 2 additional like mid to smaller builds. Because just the details that go into the cosplays, especially when you're trying to make it look exactly like a character, it's incredibly challenging.
Well, and I know
it's so tedious. Yeah.
And I know with my girls, when Halloween comes around and they've put together a certain costume or whatever, like the next year, it's like, well, I'm going to wear that one again to school just because I worked so hard on it. And then I'm going to wear the new one when I trick or treat that night. It's like,
that's smart.
Put them. I'm not gonna throw it in a closet.
Yeah, so we'll probably prep. We'll go from idea stage all the way through to a full build on a good costume once a year, and then we'll tinker on something that we've made previously, like a Moon Knight or something, and improve it. And so because Dragon Con is multiple days and multiple nights, now it's like 5 or 6 days and 5 nights of partying. Wow. People wear different costumes every day.
Yeah.
And some people wear multiple costumes every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for instance, I did a Black Manta. It's in my avatar.
Oh, cool.
But the first year I did Black Manta, I'm like, I'm gonna make this huge ass weapon that lights up. So there's a little switch here that lights the side up.
That's so cool.
And it was just so bulky. Then the next year I brought Black Manta back. I decided I'm just going to ditch the huge weapon and I'm going to put it on my arm.
Ooh.
And so, you have the weapon on your arm and it's all foam. And there's lights,
Oh, the LEDs are so cool.
Oh,
man.
wow.
You always have to have lights for because in the nighttime everyone wants to take pictures and you got to light up. It makes it that much better.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you want to show off what you have on now, if you want to stand up and show your Moon Knight and your crest and stuff and the lights, and then we could do Delphia next.
Well, yeah. So it's just it's all foam. The shoulders are.
The cape. That's gonna be so hard to keep clean as well. It's all the white.
I'm assuming you cut a pattern and then you cut off of that pattern just like you would any outfit you're making.
Right. So sometimes people will actually wrap themselves in what's that plastic called? Like sandwich wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like saran wrap.
Saran wrap. And then duct tape. And the duct tape so you can draw on it, and you'll draw the pattern while it's on your body, and then you cut it up. I had plans to bring some of that stuff up, but we don't have it. But
it's fine. You guys went so far above and beyond, staying up this late and then hanging out with us. I'm just so grateful, and I love you guys.
So yeah, you get the template. You make the template from that after you've cut it off your body, and you lay it on the foam. You cut the foam out, you know, and you glue. So this is just a floor mat. It's got the texture on one side and it's smooth on the other.
Okay.
And you cut it up and you glue it together.
Wow.
And so just like these shoulders, can you undo that? There's like a clip underneath.
The creativity, guys, is on a whole.
Oh, we unclip it.
Yeah, unclip it.
I'm impressed.
Oh, neat.
So that just comes off, and that's 2 pieces of foam. There's obviously a seam. When you become a master, you can cover these seams up.
How'd you get it to connect and disconnect? What kind of magic are you doing here? Oh, a clip.
Like you just buy them off Amazon, and then you, in the back, you put the other side and you glue it in.
Okay.
And you just size it so it, you know, so it sits right on your body. There's lots of fiddling.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like that already looks better than some DC movies we've seen. What do you got on there, Duffy? You want to show us your headpiece as well?
You can leave it
on. Oh yeah, I'm trying to help him get his shoulder back on. So this was the purse mask that I made.
So cool.
It was a Venom. Obviously, you know, Venom has a tongue and Carnage doesn't.
Well, yeah, but I know that's a technicality. But it was actually, but I did that intentionally because of the Mark Brooks cover.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the tongue's actually out, so that's it doesn't matter. So I was like, but I actually, this was all black, and so I painted it red. And then Kachung actually has some really good artistry skills. He's very good at art. So
yeah,
he drew all of the like preliminary lines and all of that. And then I went in and like shaded it and made it darker and did all of this around the face and everything. So
teamwork, I love it.
Yeah.
Teamwork. Well, it comes down to teamwork a lot of times. There are things that it would be very challenging for you to do by yourself.
Do you like lose patience trying to do one thing? You're like, okay, your turn, you know?
All the time.
Oh yeah. So this is just my suit. This was actually like the most comfortable cosplay. The symbiote suit. And then it has like hood that goes to it.
Yeah.
So and it has footies that are like all the way in.
Nice.
Signing souls.
I realize there's one other like similarity between Jason and you guys, which is the pug that we heard snoring a little bit ago. If you guys heard a little buzzsaw earlier, is that Archer?
Archer.
Yeah, I love these pugs. So I don't want to make
wakey. My pug is upstairs in bed. I'm sorry. I wish they could meet. We've been trying to make them meet forever.
Oh no, yeah. One day we'll make that happen.
Oh my goodness.
Pug talk.
So
I'm working from home right now, and Archer likes to lay right behind me wherever I'm at. He'll just follow me around and lay really close. And people always ask if I have a cat.
Because it's purring, yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of like he's purring.
And I'm like, no, I'm like, that's my dog. And they're like, what kind of dog do you have? I'm like, it's a pug. And they're like, oh, okay.
Did you have some cosplay for her?
No, we haven't done that. I've seen some people at Dragon Con though with their dogs and cosplay, and it's pretty incredible.
It's a bit strict as far as taking animals. It has to be a service dog.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I wanted to spend a little time on like the most impressive cosplays you've ever seen, and one of the ones I saw at Baltimore was a gentleman who was wheelchair bound, and he had created Professor X's wheelchair system around him with Cerebro, and he had the Cerebro helmet with the lights threaded through it, so he could drive his wheelchair around through the con as Professor X wearing Cerebro. It was one of the
awesome.
He couldn't get 10 feet without having to take a picture. Everybody was like, oh my God, this guy is incredible. The whole setup, and he was with a woman who was dressed as Jean Grey as Phoenix, and the two of them would just go around, and it left such an impression. The whole image of it was just like the detail that he clearly spent making this chair, making the lights go through it. Like every single person was just mind blown.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time on those costumes, and some of them are so big that they have to go into the hotel or the con, because it's over four or five hotels. into the lobby, find a space to, you know, kind of show off their costume, and then build it around themselves.
Wow. Yeah, because they can't fit through doors.
Exactly. And a lot of time they'll have a handler, someone that's, you know, their spouse or their friend that, you know, is either light cosplayed or just in plain clothes, and just helps them build it together and help them to maneuver around. And Delphia had wings last year. She was Bleeze, but a Star Sapphire. It was a what if Bleeze Star Sapphire. Actually, here is her armor.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
We have some great friends who are really good at electrical and lighting, and they made the emblems for everybody. We had a whole group that had you know, every color of the lantern, and we each had a different color.
That rules.
But yeah, so I had to follow her around and make sure that her wings, you know, fit. After a while, she got used to it. She's walking around with the wings on.
Yeah, you had to be careful though, like in the wind, just because we had used like a smaller frame to build out the foam work for the bones, and then we had to like shape out each and every one of the bones, and then paint each and every one of the bones.
Oh, wow.
And they were all on these like wires that, as they got bigger and bigger, became more precarious. So when the wind blew, it was like
kind of catches it all. Yeah.
I had a line of LEDs down each one and lit up pink.
I was looking for this guy though. I would say the most incredible cosplays period I've seen. It's a guy we've seen multiple times, and I can't find him right now on Instagram for the life of me. But he was he's a vet, so he's an ex-military guy, and he was paralyzed from the waist down. So super sad. But he is an incredible cosplayer, and he actually used cosplay as like a therapy for himself.
Yeah.
And he basically takes regular, like cool characters and makes them into either like some type of robot. And he uses his
Iron Man.
Like Iron Man. He did like he did some type of really cool robotic mermaid, but his Iron Man was like movie quality.
Wow. And to the point where he presses a button and his chair shoots him out and stands him up. And you're like, what the hell?
That's incredible.
And his, you know, his face shield comes down, and you know, his everything lights up.
He's just we've talked to him a couple of times, and he's just such a cool guy.
So positive.
Very positive. But I mean, his cosplays are their movie quality, and he just and he makes like, he churns and burns them. Like every year has like 2 or 3 big builds. So I would say he probably was the most consistently incredible. And then the most like shocking I saw was last year. We saw like a 30 to 40 foot Groot.
Oh yeah, I've seen one at New York City Comic Con before. A giant Groot, like on stilts. You're just like, holy crap! It looks like movie quality too, with like moss all over him and stuff.
Yeah,
amazing.
And you know, you never know what you'll see at Dragon Con. It's every fandom you've never heard of. And everyone's so positive. And
I was going to mention, you had said
out of your way for the most part.
Like cosplayers are among the most positive and like welcoming and caring.
They always help each other all the time,
right?
You know, like give each other instructions and tips. And Dragon Con is like the cosplay convention, right?
Yeah. I would say so. No, I mean, we haven't been to any others, but we've seen them, and we've seen pictures of them, and we've heard a lot about other conventions, but yeah, Dragon Con's mainly for cosplay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of panels and famous people too, and comics and stuff. But
the coolest one I've seen, because you guys told cool story of the cool ones you saw, was this crew of like steampunk bat family, and it was like real metal. It looked heavy as hell. It has like the pipes and stuff, giant headpieces, just like Iron Man, like year series 1 outfit, but like steampunk Batman, Bat family. And we were just obsessed taking pictures of them. And I got to see them twice now at different conventions. And so I always keep an eye out for them just in case, because I love those guys.
That's cool.
You pretty much guarantee that those costumes have been created over multiple years.
Yeah.
And that they've worn them at certain stages. And even the first time they showed it, it was probably amazing. They just kept building onto it.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that.
Mm-hmm.
Potsy asks, what character would you guys cosplay but have been too afraid to make that costume yet, or what for whatever reason?
One year I wanted to be a Demogorgon.
Ooh.
From Stranger Things.
Yeah, like I was really trying to figure out how I could make that happen, where I could like transition down from like an all fours type pose for pictures.
Right.
To being able to like stand up so I wouldn't like, be crawling home.
Right. Your back would be so sore.
I mean, a lot of times the really ambitious projects are for me to create for Delphia. And one of them is, you really just got to jump in and do it. But a female vulture from
oh yeah, we talked about that.
Spider-Man with
Oh, cool.
wings, the full-on, with fans going.
So like not the movie version that's all robotic, but the original like.
I was thinking the old man, so it'd be like an old lady vulture.
I meant the like full green like suit version versus the one that was like very metal looking in the Homecoming.
No, I think the one that Michael Keaton was.
Yeah, I love Michael Keaton, and I also thought that version was just amazing. So we talked about it, and I was like, it would take a lot, and that's why we haven't, gone down that path. Because if we do it, we want to do it well.
Well, of course, yeah.
Right.
My wife has just started to build me because I told her that I wanted to be Doctor Strange one year. I was like, I could cut my beard, I could do a Doctor Strange, put a little gray in, I could do the Doctor. But I was like, everywhere I looked, the cost of just getting like the pieces, the jerkin or whatever, was like ridiculous. So she started like a design for the cape, and she's starting to like design my cosplay, just like Katrina said for Philadelphia.
On a
so
budget.
Little by little, she's building pieces for it because it's like she bought the necklace because she's like, well, I'm not going to make you the Eye of Agamotto. I'm not going to make you. But like the rest is like, it takes time. And she's like planning it out. She's like, how do I make the collar stiff? It's got to pop. Like, how do you do all these things? It's amazing the work and the artistry involved.
Yeah. And a lot of the materials.
You make the collar pop with foam. You use like really thin foam and cut it in the angle of the collar, and then insert it inside of some material. That's what we had to do with this one.
Okay, there you go.
I was really noticing that. Yeah, absolutely.
You can get it's like a type of thermal plastic, and you can heat this up and shape it any way.
Oh wow.
And I think we just used
Was this thermoplastic? We didn't use foam. Was
no,
this?
we used this.
Oh yeah. There you go.
So we just cut a piece of this in the shape of her collar, and it just helps stand it up. But this is really helpful. It's another material. When you get to know the materials, like this is a clear version of the thermoplastic, so you can put lights in it. Once you know the materials, you can kind of understand what you can do with them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so you said, I don't know how I could make the Eye of Agamotto, but you could do it with just some simple resin, some lights inside it.
I was going to say the green light, yeah.
And then thin foam to look like, and then paint it to make it look like metal.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
It's just jump in the deep end. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes when you do make them.
Oh yeah, this was from my Killer Frost.
That's so cool.
So you can go to Joann's and get those spheres that are plastic, and they come in halves, and that's what these are.
It looks better in person.
Painted on the inside.
And
it looks amazing. This is like magic to me. This is kind of mystery science that I don't know.
This is exactly what I wanted from this discussion. Is like, you guys are so awesome. I love it.
Well, we appreciate that, John.
We
You're
got
sweet.
plenty of gadgets.
This was year one for Dragon Con. So I wanted to be Harlequin. I love Harlequin. And so I didn't want to be any of the versions of Harlequin that existed, though. I just didn't.
Okay.
Like, I didn't want to be one of like 1,000 at Dragon Con,
The Suicide Squad one was the current one at the time.
And there were more than 1,000.
A million. Yeah. Totally.
Probably more than there were Deadpools. They have a game where they count them, and it's up above
That's
100.
true. And I will say that year, some people looked really good in that Harlequin outfit, but some people were wearing it, and I was like, you should have picked a different costume. Like,
so how was this one different? What'd you do?
So we just did this like armored version of.
While you talk about that, I'll grab the hammer.
Of Harlequin. Hold on. This way.
Her card sort of.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh, there we go. This way. So we did basically like an armored build out, and this was our first go at really using foam. So you can see it's like a lot more flat. And just, it's thicker than it really should be, honestly, to rest on the body well. These were the side panels.
Look at the mallet.
That's huge.
Set on my hip.
Mallet.
And then
this is made from a concrete pour tube you get from Home Depot. And it's PVC pipe with some fixtures.
Oh my God.
Wow, look at that Joker.
Oh my God. Oh, the Joker. Holy cow. How'd you do that?
It's a decal.
I actually custom ordered it from a person on Etsy that made decals. I actually have a cameo silhouette, but Dave and I have played with it a little bit, and we still have a ways to go, honestly. Yeah, to grandma patience.
Look at the chat. Some of my favorite Pete's says.
There you go.
Pizza. I love it.
That's amazing. I would want to smash that, smash stuff with that 24/7. You know? Yeah.
There's pictures on our Instagram of this particular costume. I think of all our costumes.
I dropped the link for Delphia's Instagram, and I'll drop the link for Kachung's in just a second while you guys are answering this question from Michael at the Downright Nerdy Podcast. He's watching with Riley at home right now. They said, what is the most expensive cosplay you've had to date? And what are you working on now?
It gets cheaper. Every time you do it,
it's like once you know what you're doing, but then it's like I want to do so much because I know what I'm doing.
Well, what my point is, when you start piecing it together to begin with, you're buying things off Amazon that will, try and make the costume fast. But if you take your time and use materials, you can make a costume probably cheaper than you would be able to piece the pieces together, or buying a costume online somewhere for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But we tend to make multiple
elements.
It adds up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, some people get costumes specifically commissioned for themselves for these cons, and they generally spend somewhere around $1,000 to $2,000 for like a commissioned costume. That's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Taking their vision, their measurements, and making it for them. But I would say that, and most of those people are making the stuff by hand.
Right.
So I would say, honestly, it would probably be my Bleez costume. That got really pricey just because I fell in love with Bleez, and it was a really ambitious costume. We got invited to basically do a Lantern Corps shoot with some friends of ours from Nashville, and I got assigned pink, so a love, and you got assigned orange. So he did Lawfleys, and
I remember that costume. That was so cool.
Yeah, that headpiece is cool, man. Larfleys.
Yeah.
I could not see anything.
I just posted
one fit in there.
Instagram as well, so you can see they've got so many great. Every once in a while, I'll scroll back through their Instagram and find something. I'm like, how did I not see this picture?
That rules.
Even I felt like a Muppet in this thing.
Let me blow that up.
It was a rush. I did this mask in 3 days.
What?
You're kidding me?
What, with the eyes too?
The eyes light up. The teeth make him look a bit goofy.
He looks amazing.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible.
I found the right
3 days. That's Jim Henson level in 3 days.
Do you ever play around and put everything on at once to make a super person?
Yeah, it's like Moon Knight's body, but with
Larfleez's head.
G.I. Joes. I would take them apart and put them together with different parts. That's hilarious.
Totally.
But it's just floor mats, and there's 3 millimeter foam here. This is like 3 pieces of 6mm foam stuck together, cut into that shape, dremeled into the shape, and then painted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once you get the tricks worked out, then you can grind through these pieces pretty quick.
You guys,
Yeah.
Super dope.
Our garage was like shade, like I don't know, 20 shades of pink. After because we had to spray paint all of this like multiple times. You have to like spray paint it, sand it, spray paint it, sand it. Then you have to gloss it. And I wanted it to be absolutely perfect. So when it comes to like these artistic details, a lot of times that's what I do. So Kachung does like the hard build. Like he'll like, you know, put the foam work together, and then I'll be like, hey, we need to add a little bit here. I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I bet like I would go OCD crazy. Yeah. I just wouldn't be able to stop and put it down. Yeah.
I'm the one that's like, that'll do.
And I'm like, oh, wait, we need to put a little bit more here. So our poor garage got like just a mist of pink, even though we put drop sheets everywhere. Like it didn't matter. I think there's still like a corner of it that's like entirely like this sapphire pink. So.
Well, that's like June was saying too. Like people will over several seasons kind of like build it up into Megazord or whatever. It's like Jason's saying, like you would OCD it to a level of like I've started here and it's good enough to go out.
Yep.
But it's gonna be like good enough to slay in 2025.
Exactly.
Right. But I would say as far as now, honestly, we probably would have started our build like last month. But I think like a lot of people, there's just been so much uncertainty right now. And other things that we've unfortunately been focusing on because we love cosplaying. But you know, we have stepped back out into the community. We're alive.
Yeah.
No.
And we have plans. I mean, we've had a lot of inspiration, I guess, sessions to figure out what we were going to cosplay, at least for this year, if it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to improve my Moon Knight, if not redo another one, because, you know, even though the mask is cool, it's a bit big. And I got it from a pattern online, and I could probably make it now just from my head rather than using a template from someone else. But, you know, I learned a lot of things like this comes off. There's magnets that hold it on.
Oh, wow.
So because it's just, you know, a piece of foam in there, I put magnets on there. So because I was wondering, you know, Moon Knight has this peak, right? It's going to move around a lot.
Right.
Goofy. And if you don't know, it'll look goofy in all the photos, and then you don't have any good ones. So I made sure it stayed put.
I love the practicality of what you're. I mean, so on. If those of you who are watching, if you didn't know, on like Friday night, we had the designer of the double-bladed lightsaber on to discuss design and creation for Star Wars and George Lucas. What you're doing is literally the exact same thing, where you're looking at practicality of, well, that looks really cool on a comic book, but the second I put that on in real life, and
it doesn't quite work.
It goes that way and I go this way, and it's now it's really awkward. So the functionality, which becomes so much more important when you're walking through a Comic-Con versus the drawing of, I don't have to worry about gravity in a drawing because gravity is like not important.
The logistics you got to go through is just kind of mind-boggling, you know.
Right?
It's like,
and the tips we would give to anyone who wanted to start is think comfort first.
Definitely.
It's going to be hot inside a mask no matter what. So keep hydrated, but yeah, definitely stick with comfort, and yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and
travel light.
We
learned that. I mean, I think our first con, you know, we had and just to the part about strategy, I mean, we've already like said, we're going to start doing a really slow build because we highly doubt Dragon Con's happening this year. Right. So that way we can just have a really killer build and do something that we love doing together.
I was thinking Nova.
Yeah. But we learned.
Whoa, cool.
The first con, we read that you should have a Dragon Con survival kit. So we made one.
Yeah. And it filled a box that wheeled behind us. And
We
it was
wheeled
a
the
pain-
box behind us.
it was a pain in the
One of
ass.
those like pop-up crates with the. It was
Like
horrible.
a dolly.
It
Yeah.
was the worst ever. We had like water and snacks and.
We had enough for 4 days, I reckon. Every day. We had things to sit on, and we had.
You got to build the camel pack into your costume, so it's like
Right.
straws
Drink water
right
as you.
there, right?
That's the thing. Now I build in like little shelves and little pockets to
I
hide.
have secret flasks here and then
Right.
one here. Yeah.
I made a
Man belt would be all flasks.
Bottle. I was
Yeah.
just in here. I don't know. It was just put in.
I
I
noticed
made
a lot
like
of
a red-
cos. I noticed a lot of cosplays you have where we're like crossovers and really neat different ideas. I would like, since you have the Harley Quinn mallet. I want to see like a Gallagher Harley Quinn. that's just what I want. But did you have any other like future plans of like more crossovers or new takes on things?
I mean, I think that we haven't really. I mean, for me, where I like to make things a little unique and weird is always with the Bunny Ranch cosplay. For me, it's like it's an opportunity to take a character and twist it around a little bit, and I don't feel like people are going to be like, "What?"
Yeah.
So like with the Maleficent that I did, I didn't, follow a template. For me,
That's so good, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. I just got inspired by like what was making me excited, honestly. Like I'm very artistic by nature. So I love all of that type of stuff. I'm a creative at heart. So for me just to start, I just kind of envisioned what I wanted and what I wanted it to look like. And I knew it was going to represent Maleficent at the end of it. So I had the wings and the purple and even on my shoes, which I didn't bring around, but I probably spent like 2 weeks alone on just my shoes, which is crazy because I like hand painted these tiny little dragon figurines that I have on my Instagram and
stuck them on her shoes.
And I had to find the right glue so they would actually stay on my stilettos.
Wow.
At the con, because it gets crazy at the con, and you don't want to have something that's going to just fly off because that would be the end of it.
We're going to be losing something you paid for too, right? You don't want to be losing those pieces that you spent time buying and making, and yeah.
So I always find a spot on my costume to put her flats. She has little flats that she changes. So when we walk from one place to another, she'll change her shoes. It's much more comfortable to walk in. And then when we get somewhere where we want to take photos, she'll put her other shoes back on.
Mm-hmm.
So
idea.
I guess we should be wrapping up, but one last round I thought maybe would be fun is I'm a big fan of, like you mentioned, comfort in the cosplay. My favorite cosplays are the ones that I look at and I think that looks so comfy, and you're killing this right now. Like we saw a guy who was Big Trouble in Little China. He was Kurt Russell, and he was basically just wearing a tank top,
tank top,
and a wig, and he was just walking around with the just doing it. And I love the Tropical Stormtrooper. I don't know if you've seen this cosplay where it's just a Stormtrooper helmet, but they're wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and a lei, and it's the Tropical Stormtrooper, and they're just walking around. All they got is the helmet on, right? They just work, but they're wearing like. It's
they're on vacation. Yeah,
the vacation version.
Well, we found these
favorite comfort first cosplay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Like I learned a very hard lesson with my Killer Frost costume. Pretty much every piece of that was custom because it had to be for it to all match. I mean, Kachung was literally, I have them here. And some things look so much better photographed than they do in person. A lot of the armor on that suit was incredible. And we took a couple rounds at that. But like these were my armbands. And in order to get them to match, they went up my arm. Literally, Kachun was painting them on my body.
Oh my.
So that they wouldn't shrink so much that I couldn't put them on and the color would get messed up. So
I wouldn't even think of that. Jeez.
But as far as comfort goes, he's absolutely right. I mean, I think with every costume that I take heels with, I always take flats. I take these fold up flats that can just like go in like a fanny pack, and usually it was underneath one of our armor pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But with the Killer Frost, I didn't do that. And I learned my lesson. And people had told me, like, make sure you wear comfortable shoes. That's the most important thing.
You're standing all day, no seating. Yeah.
No seating. You're walking on concrete. You're on hard floors and lobbies of hotels. and
Stairs and escalators.
I wore
Long walks. Yeah.
really, really tall boots, and they look great. But I literally could not feel my toes for 3 months.
Holy cow.
I thought I thought I did serious nerve damage for a while. So I was like, I was just hoping it would return, and thank goodness after 3 months I could finally feel my toes again. And I was like, never again. So I think the most important thing is definitely comfortable shoes. And when we wear these suits, they're actually like second skin.
Right. Yeah, that looks really comfortable. Yeah.
So Spider-Man, Deadpool, all those, you know, it's still a bit hot with the mask on, but if you can do
that's
it,
a different layer for sure, I would imagine.
Yeah, like when Kachun wore the Lockleys helmet, he was dying.
I bet.
So Jason, have you ever seen a cosplay that you were like, that is low key and super comfortable, and I would totally wear that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
like Tomb Raider or something, right?
Oh yeah,
Ooh, Tomb
definitely.
Raider.
That'd be good. Yeah, for sure. I've done like a Spider-Man skateboarder where I've worn like, you know, shorts on top of the costume and a skateboard. And that was before Spider-Punk and stuff came out. Like,
There you go.
Possibly Anakin Skywalker, you know,
Yeah.
kind of Jedi.
Sure.
I feel like we tried. I was just gonna say, I feel like we try to do our comfortable days on vendor days.
Yeah.
I saw a whole family that did the Big Trouble in Little China, where it was like the little kids were the ones with the big like wicker hats.
Yeah, I saw them.
You remember at Baltimore, there was like 6 of them, and if you lined them up, and it was like the cast of Big Trouble in Little China. And the wife was wearing the kimono. He had the lipstick kiss on, like they'd just been making out. Like it was phenomenal. You're like, this is the whole family, the kids, the parents, everybody is Big Trouble in Little China.
Kids had their visors for the little tiny see-through
Oh my
slit.
God, it was so freaking good. It was amazing.
I think it's great.
I want to thank you guys for coming on and doing this.
Thank you.
At 2:45 in East Coast time. You have proven yourselves beyond worthy.
Beyond dedication.
Thank you for bringing cosplay to the Mainframe Comic Con, because we wouldn't have had it without you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Anytime.
Thank you.
We've been watching this all weekend. This has been our weekend, so it's been great.
Well, now you are a part of it, and if anybody wants to follow these two, I dropped the links to their Instagram, DK Comics and Cosplay, or Delphia Spark, and Kachung on Instagram. You're going to see great cosplay, fun comics, and just be a part of this awesome community of people. So thank you so much.
Any YouTube stuff we do will be on her channel. There's no videos on mine, but there is a link through my channel to her channel. It's hard when you're a couple and you're both doing the same thing. You can't really have 2 channels. You got to kind of have
right.
downright nerdy podcast. They must know that too, because you know they kind of share the same channel.
Yeah, thank you DNP for sticking it out in the super chats. Your contributions to this whole thing as well, and we appreciate it very much.
So we're gonna shut it down. This is the end of Saturday. It's gonna start back up again on Sunday. We got Kevin Smith in the house tomorrow. Donnie Cates is coming by. We're gonna do all of this again. We're gonna end tomorrow night, Sunday, with the drink and draw.
Yeah, David Harbour's tomorrow as well.
Dude, it's going to be an amazing Sunday. I'm only there for a little bit tomorrow because we're not doing the late night. We did Friday.
I got work on Monday. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jason, for this, man. It's been awesome. He's been my late night partner for this. As always, partners in everything. Comic Con Unlimited for life. Yeah, right there.
And stop these guys.
We're gonna be doing Donnie Cates' interview tomorrow. So if you want to catch us one last time for a Mainframe Comic Con, we're gonna be talking with Donnie Cates and his wife about the Hero Initiative tomorrow at 1:30 my time, 4:30 East Coast time.
We'll be there.
So if you want to be there for a little Donnie Cates talk, hear about Thor, hear about Venom, and all that great goodness, we'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually think 5:30 Eastern.
Oh, is it off by an hour?
I believe so.
2:30 my time? Okay. But definitely hope to see you guys there for that. Thank you all for contributing and for being here, and we will see you on Sunday.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.